guys, and we're racing.
Hightower pushes Jensen along the exit of turn number 4.
This win, it's big slide. It's time to go racing at GRIDLIFE Midwest. Hill side by side. O'Gorman around the outside now for the top spot. Tom O'Gorman goes to the lead. 3 wide for the lead.
This is great racing, folks. This is what this series is all about.
The suburban sprawl around the Chicago area is known for some unpredictable weather. And so far this weekend at Autobahn Country Club, spectators and competitors alike have been through rain and shine. An annual trip to Joliet, Illinois marks GRIDLIFE Chicago. Nearly 150 competitors in track battle, drift, and GLTC have come to do battle for the 5th time this season. Hi, everybody, and welcome to GRIDLIFE Live. My name is Kyle Heyer, joined by Andrew Cardinale IV for the first time ever on the GRIDLIFE broadcast. Your first road racing broadcast this time, Andrew, so welcome aboard.
Thanks for having me, Kyle. This has been a fantastic weekend already, and we're only on Saturday. It's only, 1 p.m.? We haven't even really gotten started. There's been one heat of time on track, one heat of drifting on track, and that's it. And it already is just such a special experience to actually finally see GRIDLIFE and everything that you guys have going on. This is top-notch, seriously.
I've been pitching it hard to you for a couple of years now, and to finally bring you out is really, really fun. First up on track will be GRIDLIFE Touring Cup qualifying. So 20 minutes for drivers to set the best times they can to grid themselves up for race number 1. Let's have a look at the track map here at Autobahn Country Club. It's a 2.1-mile track, 15 turns, Andrew. It's flat around here. Not a lot of elevation change to speak of. It all starts with that short run, left-hand side of your screen towards turn number 1. About a second gear, maybe third gear in some cars, right-hander, sweep through 2 and 3, then head to the back side of the track. Fast-flowing corners over there.
Yeah, 3, 4, and 5 are all so fast. You've got to nail each and every one of them. The line is not very wide, and that continues through 6 and 7. The line, I was told by some drivers last night, about a foot wide that you got to hit. There's really no margin for error through those corners, and you've got to get that to be fast. You can get through those corners other ways, but you got to be in that foot wide line to be fast, and it continues even on through turn 8 into the kind of chicanes on the backside of the course in 9 and 10 and 11 and 12 that are oh so important to your lap time. Those, of course, kick off those long straights, and you've got to nail those if you want to go fast here.
You're right. There's a couple of those chicanes on the backside of the racetrack into 11 and 12. Crucial zones to downshift, get your braking right, and get your throttle application right, especially with the track conditions we've got here. It is very, very slick. It was raining extremely heavily up until about 15 minutes ago. So I think we're going to experience a really interesting qualifying session because this sets the grid for race 1. I always say that qualifying is the most important session of a race weekend in GLTC. We have 35 competitors, and the races kind of stack on each other, right? Race 2 is gridded by fastest lap, but race 3 is gridded by start or finishing position from race 2. So if you don't have a good first race and a good second race, you're putting yourself in a really deep hole. The drivers that can dig themselves out of that, Tom O'Gorman at GRIDLIFE Midwest had an issue, started 51st in race 2, drove all the way back to second by the end of the weekend, but that was a big hit in the points for Tomo. Once drops calculate, I think that's going to hurt him quite a bit. So we'll see how that factors in, but 35 cars on the entry list. There is your reigning champion, Jeremy Swenson, in the purple Corvette to your right. Then Ron Solomon in the 777 on the left. Wes Case is lined up. Patrick Reyes in the flowered liveried car, about 4th in line there. Eric Jensen is here. But up front, Andy Smedegard, Tom O'Gorman, Matt Waldbaum, 3 of the ASM S2000s. And Tom and Andy lined up as they are in the points. Andy first, Tom second.
And I like where Tom is, of course. I mean, he's got the chance to follow Andy around the track and use that as a reference. And, we were talking about points and everything earlier on, you and I just kind of getting settled in. And one thing that stood out was the average finish, particularly for Jeremy Swenson, 2.4 on the season. And, of course, he's got a couple of wins to help him out, but he even missed AMP, and he's literally just behind the top 3 in points. It's really fascinating to look through the points and see where these guys all line up. But it's going to be fascinating, I think, especially to see how this track changes throughout the day. And Mother Nature really said, all right, we're going to give you the perfect setting for the race, but then dry you out right as we get to go racing, right as we start streaming. So qualifying now getting underway. It's going to be fun to watch.
I think so. And one of the other things we should pay attention to is because it's not actively raining anymore, the track is going to dry out as these cars make laps. So I think towards the end of the session, we're going to see lap times continue to get faster and faster. Right now, people might be a little bit tentative. It's not as wet as it was in practice this morning. The drivers got a full wet track, but I think these changing conditions are even harder to figure out.
Well, yeah, the dry line is going to start to come in very quickly. You're going to try to, obviously hit that wet line to start and figure out where the puddles are and where there's the standing water, but it's all going to change oh so quickly. If there was water continuously being put down, it would be somewhat more consistent, but this is going to change really quick. And, the time attack guys talk about having their one good lap to go out there and set their time, you might have to wait until 2 or 3 here to really find a good lap that works for you. And even then, the track is going to get faster, obviously, as it dries off and that dry line forms. So this is going to be a really, really odd, really awkward qualifying session in all of the good ways.
Yeah, awkward is a great way to put it. I think one driver in particular we're keeping an eye on. We always keep our eye on Tom O'Gorman, but he texted me this morning that he had a thermostat failure in practice. They have since replaced that, and he got a hardship lap to test it out, but that was he did overheat the car, so he's not totally sure if it's going to be completely solid here, but this will be a great opportunity to test that. They've got teammate Zach Lavoie behind them as well as Ronnie Solomon, so 5 of the ASM S2000s, all 5 of them actually. They have Micaiah Hackbarth and a Porsche Cayman that it will be behind them, but a whole lot of those ASM liveried cars out on track. There's Eric Jensen, Ryan Upham in the number 13 for Performance Euroworks. There's Micaiah in the green Porsche Cayman, Austin Hurdle. That is Arimas Karosis in the white BMW. Then Lewis Chatrup in the number 26, Kerry James, Emil Tabb, Scott Robertson, Jeff Preston, and Matan Rosenberg all in line. There's Joel Morrison. If you remember back to Grid Life Midwest, race number 3, Morrison had a big impact over at turn 10B, destroyed the right rear of that car. They've since repaired it. They pieced it together. It's a little calico looking on the right side, but all things considered, the fact that that car's even running is a miracle.
I was just about to comment on the fact of all these cars looking so professional. Of course, this is grassroots racing. It's not the big stuff that IMSA guys do or whatever, but they're still wrapped cars. They all look beautiful. You can tell these guys take care of their cars. And then he's the one exception to the rule right now. He's got the white door, yellow quarter panel, but the car still looks great. And if you just look at the left side, he's fine. And the AOA car has got a spin here out of turn 2, it looks like.
Yeah, that is the number 55, which I didn't even have on my entry list this weekend. So that's an interesting car to have out there. I think that is going to be Stephen Cox in that car. But I didn't even know he was here this weekend, so that's a bit of a surprise to me. Cars on track. Now speeding up, big slide for Zach Lavoie, and he spins out, and Matt Waldbaum goes off course. Lavoie spins off to driver's right ahead of his teammates, but trying to find the limits early, and Lavoie takes out one of our eBay Motors banners over there. So that's great coverage there for eBay Motors, but not the way that you want to start your qualifying session. But that just shows you how treacherous it really is.
Yeah, and of course, the limits that they're finding right now are going to change. There's something going to find more grip in turn 1 the next time through, and the next time through it's going to feel even better. So we're going to have to really watch as these guys figure things out, hand out the window.
Yep. It's treacherous. It really is treacherous, and you can tell, again, we're beginning flying laps now, and by flying laps, I mean everyone's still going very cautiously. I do see on one of the LED boards in the background that there is a black flag being displayed at the moment. You can see off in the distance, right by that blue tent, that is a black flag. Now, this is a flag that we will get if there is a need to return cars to pit lane. So there could be someone off track. There could be a track surface issue, but that is what that means. So everyone is now going to come down pit lane and park, and whatever has happened, we will undo. And it could be related to surface conditions. It is slick out there, and I think that this half wet, half dry is harder than if it was just all wet.
Yeah, and you know, it's tough to tell just by looking at it through the cameras, but I do believe it's a pretty smooth track surface. There isn't really a whole lot of crevices for water to sit into and still get grip on the track. And I mean, there's only 18 feet of elevation change throughout this course. So again, where's the water going to go? Well, it's going to sit on the racetrack
everywhere.
until it gets picked up by cars and you know, yeah, or evaporated by the sun. And, well, do you see the sun, Kyle?
Nope.
I don't.
No, we saw it lots yesterday. I got really sunburned
You're a lobster.
yesterday.
I was wearing a red polo shirt. You were matching the color of my polo.
It's what happens every single time.
You were like the flag stand. See, I love that he was the exact same color as the flag stand yesterday afternoon.
All part of a hard day's work getting set up, and was working with Charlie Enslin, Hard Times Charlie, who just crushes it. He's our operations lead here at Grid Life, and was putting up banners and working deep into the night just getting this event prepped for this weekend. Again, a 2-day event, so the timeline is really condensed as compared to Grid Life Midwest, where we're typically on site the Monday of that week. For some of the team was even there the Sunday of the week prior. So there's a long lead-up time and lots of time to prep. Ooh.
Oh, that might tell us why.
That would tell us
Is
why.
that the bumper off the AOA car, potentially?
It could be. It's yellow. It must match somebody. But I see the AOA car in the background.
Yeah, we just got to see if we can find his bumper. See if we can see the nose of his car.
But that's Armco damage, certainly. And whatever car that belongs to, I hope it's not Ronnie Solomon would be the other one I think it could be. But I can't tell if that's Ronnie behind there or if that's the 55. But either way, a car that knows its way into the barrier on the front stretch. And again, on the track map, that there's one little left kink right before the front straightaway. And there's a big puddle there. And if you're not prepped for that, it can get away from you very, very quickly.
Yeah, I was going to say it's an odd place to usually have an accident, but it makes a lot more sense when the track is wet. Coming through 15, usually it'd be flat probably, but with water on track, whether it's hydroplaning or just hitting that puddle or whatever, there's so many ways you could mess that up, and obviously somebody has. But it looks like, I mean, the car isn't there, so that's a good sign. They obviously continued on. But that's still not good to see.
Yeah, it might just be surface wounds there for that, which still isn't great. But again, we'll find out what car that was for you here in a little bit. I do want to also take a look at practice results from this morning. There weren't, actually, we don't have practice results from this morning because there wasn't timing running yet. So that's the challenge now, is if this session gets rained out, what happens, right? Because we don't have practice times yet. We're going to have to grid them somehow. And I'm not exactly sure the process if we don't already have a session in the books. It would probably be by point standings would be my next guess. So I'll have to get clarification, because if we have to repair the barrier, we might end up using up this whole session just on pit lane sitting here, which isn't ideal, but that's how it is sometimes when the conditions are challenging.
I know Smedegard and O'Gorman, of course, would be happy to see that. Maybe not happy that they can't qualify, but at least content would be the word, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, they would, however you decide to line up the field, they would be at the front.
And Lavoie, even after that spin in two, he'd probably be rather happy to just go ahead and start fourth. Let's just send it, as opposed to having to qualify. Obviously, he's already had a little bit of trouble, but I'm sure as we get cars on track and work some of this water off the pavement, it should get a lot better for everybody.
Well, unfortunate slow start to the session here this weekend. Again, Autobahn Country Club's South Course here for Grid Life Chicago. I'm Kyle Heyer, joined by Andrew Cardinale IV, as we get prepped for a full weekend of action. And it starts with a black flag for a contact on the front straightaway. Car nosed into the barrier right near the start-finish line. So we'll have to assess the barrier, make sure that that is good to continue with, and then we can hopefully turn cars loose for a few more minutes. Not quite halfway through the session yet, so we should get a lap or two, but what this does is it just ratchets up the intensity when you go back out. You don't really have a lot of time now. You didn't have a lot of time before, 20 minutes, but now you're going to only have 10, maybe 5 minutes to get a really solid flying lap. And you have to push the issue because the track is drying, but it's still wet. It's still slippery.
Yeah, we're not going to have easy track conditions, I think, until tomorrow.
No.
Until we open the day tomorrow.
And when it's tomorrow, it's going to be 180 degrees out here probably.
Yeah,
so
easy is a relative word, certainly.
Right.
We're not going to have normal track conditions for quite some time.
No,
today is, and we have more weather on the way.
Tonight.
I don't know if we can pull the radar up, but we have more weather on the way. It's going to be rough for these guys, and drivers out of cars.
Yeah, that's Jake Jornstad climbing out of his Myriad Motorsports number 23 and stepping out.
Well, it's not that first yellow car we saw. We see a yellow bumper there, and there's definitely a bumper on that car.
So it might be. Oh, that's the
AOA car.
So that means that the only other yellow car that I can think of would be Ronnie Solomon in the ASM 777. Which, considering that car just had a big repair to the right side after taking what I could only say was a massive impact at Road America last year at the exit of turn number 1. In conditions similar to this, actually, spun at the exit of turn 1, spun back around and went passenger side into that concrete wall right where it kind of funnels down at the exit of 1 at Road America. He had just rebuilt that car, so I hope that whatever damage there is just superficial at this point.
Yeah, the big concern now is what do they have to go in and work on, obviously, as you're talking about. Thankfully, it's only qualifying, so there's still a whole day ahead of them.
Yeah, and I will say this, that if there is any team in the paddock that is prepared to help someone fix their car, it's ASM. Last year, Tom O'Gorman blew up an engine while leading in race number 1. Before the engine was even cold, they had swapped out a new one and had them ready to go for race number 2. Cars back on track now. Green flag. Qualifying resumes here at Grid Life Chicago at Autobahn Country Club. Richard Sawicki is the first driver on track, the 528 NB Miata. Then right behind him is the 177 Justin Lautz, Tom O'Gorman. A new driver here this weekend, the 546 rather, is the new driver that we've got here this weekend. And that is Andy Sundin with Chicane Motorsport. O'Gorman sweeps to the left there to get around Richard Sawicki as he heads down towards turn number 4. Felipe Gonzalez, the teal Myriad Motorsports car. He's got the yellow door numbers. Andy Smedegard. Now, everyone's kind of out of order here, so they're going to have to struggle to get themselves back in line and follow the cars they want to follow.
Well, at the very least, pit exit's going to be nice and dry before the racing line is, but let's see, cars on track. Just going to start, obviously, working the water off the track and things are going to dry out as the day goes on. We should actually see a decently better first lap for these guys now than we were expecting, because now, you know, the clouds are lightening up. We're starting to warm back up. It was 66 degrees a little bit ago, and pretty chilly. I can feel even in our tent it's warming up. So
yeah, you can still see lots of
spray.
Yeah, so
especially off that Corvette.
Right. That's Jeremy Swenson, 2021 season champion, and you mentioned previously on the scorecard for the season that he has not finished worse than 5th this year. Jeremy Swenson has had an average finish of 2.4, but he has not won a race since race 3 at Circuit of the Americas all the way back in February. I know that's bothering him. I know he wants to get a win tonight, but he's got to really qualify well. We've seen Jeremy, if he doesn't qualify up front, it's a real challenge for him to get past cars. He's a great defensive driver and a great qualifier, comes from a time attack background, but if you get him 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, that's a hard push for him to make up to the front.
Well, a big part of that is the car, too. Being a Corvette, you can obviously, you know, he's got a wider car than a lot of these Miatas or S2000s, and I'm sure the straightaways help.
Yeah, the straightaways really help. And the thing is again, this is a power-to-weight-based class, but it doesn't say anything about torque. It's peak power, wherever that is. So what Jeremy has sort of figured out, along with some of the other Viking performance cars, is that they figured out that if you have you know, a big V8 engine and you detune it, your torque curve is just, your power curve is just flat. You make that peak power the whole rev range. And that's the advantage that Jeremy has kind of figured out, and it's led to some really great racing. I don't think the car has the advantage at this particular track. I'd say that I would circle the ASM S2000s as probably the favorites to win this weekend. You can never count out Tom O'Gorman. 5 wins this season, 9 podiums out of 16 starts. The average finish for him this year, 7.4, dragged down only by a 22nd at COTA and a 51st at Midwest. Other than that, the worst he has finished is 12th.
Do we see some of the Miatas come into their own this weekend?
I
mean, Matan Rosenberg, potentially.
Oh, totally. Matan Rosenberg's had a great season, the young 18-year-old out of Cleveland, Ohio. The number 484, it's that red NA Miata. Had a spectacular race at GridLife Midwest, race 4. Started up on pole, ended up finishing 6th. That was his best finish of the season. So Matan certainly could be a factor, especially if he gets advantage from the invert in race 4 later this week.
Well, he's only made the last 2 rounds. He didn't make COTA or AMP, so he's at that disadvantage. Otherwise, I think he'd be a lot higher in the standings. He's got a best finish so far of 6th, a couple of 9ths, 3 10th place finishes, and only 2 finishes outside the top 10. He's got to be a big consideration, I think, as time goes on, as years go on, potentially, as one of the rising stars, I suppose, of GridLife GLTC. I mean, he is definitely pretty strong. Only 2 rounds, and he's already, what, 12th in the standings.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's very competitive, and it was really fun to watch Matan in that NA Miata battling amongst the likes of Tom O'Gorman and Paul Curley, who have been dominant year after year and race after race. To put an NA Miata at the front of the field is really impressive. Here's Smedegaard sailing by us at the back straightaway, the 212 from ASM. Again, Andy, the team lead at Andy Smedegaard Motorsports. And heads towards the braking zone at turn number 11 and tucks it in. Heads to the backside of the track, disappearing through the trees. Emil Tab is back. That's that white NA Miata with the yellow, black, and red colorations on the side. Emil ran with us at Atlanta Motorsport Park and at NCM. He's currently 10th in the standings. Best finish of 4th, race 4 at NCM.
Yes, I mean, he's been in the top 5 a couple of times. He's also, I think, one to watch. Both of those Miatas.
Yep.
Emil and Matan, it'll be a lot of fun to watch this weekend.
And Emil never is really super aggressive, but he's just consistent, right? He's got, you know, the last couple of rounds, he's not finished worse than 11th or better than 4th. So that's a pretty good spread in just the bottom half of the top 10 there.
Well, and that fits with, there's literally a corner here unofficially called Patience.
Right.
That's really going to help, especially in a Miata here. I feel like the cornering grip in a Miata is pretty nice. Obviously, you can get through a lot of the corners better than some of the big burly cars. I think the Miata is going to be really fun to watch this weekend, alongside the S2000s and a few FRSs out there. I'm excited to see how they do as we start to see some times come on the board. O'Gorman, 104 or 154.
Yeah, so just for context for people that aren't familiar with Autobahn South Course, the times that we saw yesterday in ASN held a test day yesterday, 131s to 134s is where most cars fell, so we're about 20 seconds.
These are Sunday Cup times.
I mean, this is what, yeah, right, a Honda Fit in dry weather could run the times they're running because the track is so treacherous right now. So we'll see these times fall, but we're starting to get low on time in this session, and the intensity will ratchet up for those that are on flying laps. But I think everyone is being fairly tentative with how slick it is on course. Big slide by Lewis Chaptroop in the background there. That's that silver M3. You see him give the wave by to Scott Robertson. Here's Fiona Liu in the 88. She heads down the back straightaway towards turn number 6. Pika S2K. We've seen this car in Time Attack and GLTC before. Last raced with us at Midwest and then previously at Circuit of the Americas back in February. And following Justin Lautz, who we have not seen yet this season except for our track day picnic, which is a smaller event, not live streamed, but Justin is back. Been a little while since we've seen him, and that number has big 7 on the side, but it's 177 on the time.
We have some of those drivers around like the 215, 217 margin. If they don't get to the line quick enough, they might only get 2 laps compared to some of these guys getting 3 laps earlier on. So that's going to be interesting. If anybody comes across the line too late to get an extra time, as hand out the window there. Pass it to turn 4.
Yeah, that was Hans Horpedal from Myriad Motorsports, giving the wave by to O'Gorman, who just improved a lap, a 153.887. There's Andy again, trying to run Tomo down, just ran a 58.1. But a little bit offline there to turn 3. And Emil Tab up to 3rd. Nice catch, 159.814. And Swenson
really close to Smedegaard.
Yep. And again, I think the gaps here, we're going to see them be quite large because of the conditions. Big slide for Smedegaard, getting as much as he can get past the FCP Euro boards there. Offline again. Another big slide. Jensen slow on driver's right. Smedegaard sweeps around the outside. And I can just tell that it is still just the treacherousness of this. You see how much counter steer he's putting into this car. Again, the challenging conditions. I can feel it. I'm just running my feet across the paddock pavement here.
Yeah.
It's damp and it's still very, very slick. Some tracks grip up nicely after it stops raining. This one is not one of them.
Smedegaard way out wide there, trying to find whatever grip he can. Obviously, as a lot of our viewers will know, it's slick in these wet conditions, as we've been talking about. So you got to go offline, try and find either dry pavement or try to find where the tires are actually grip through the water. When you're in kind of that in-between, it's not very fun, not very pleasant at all.
So Smedegaard continues to make laps here, trying to catch teammate O'Gorman. And again, Tomo running 5 seconds faster is not a huge surprise, again, for those that aren't familiar with him. And if you're in our community, you definitely are. Tom comes from a background of pro racing, ran an IMSA for a couple of years in the Michelin Pilot Challenge Series, and has 2 wins to his name in a Honda Civic Type R TCR, 1 at Daytona, actually 4 wins, I should say. 1 at Daytona, 1 at Sebring, and he has 1 at Road Atlanta and 1 at VIR. Those were for running an Audi RS3 TCR. Tom is also a multi-time champion in Pirelli World Challenge at the time. That was the Touring Car Series. And continues
much
to be...
quicker for Andy there.
Oh, yeah, there you go. The 2-second pickup. Tomo continues to be active in coaching and also runs a whole lot of Grid Life Touring.
More time starting to filter on through. Swenson up into the 4th spot at a 2:01.804. Waldbaum still a little behind. I think that time should come down soon at a 2:03.268. Robertson, Barty, and Moore are getting closer. And as this time goes down, we should see 1 or 2 more of those guys hopefully get under 2 minutes.
I think what we're seeing right now is at least we're going to have some representative laps. The field is not going to be bunched very close, but when you start race 1, it doesn't matter how fast you ran. You're going to start right next to the guy that you were close to in qualifying.
So 1 car off.
Yeah, it looked like a red car. I couldn't quite get my eyes on which one it was. It is. Looks like could that be Sawicki, or is that Matan Rosenberg that's stuck over there? Big Tomo still trying to get time out of it. Again, he's chasing time at this point, but he's 3.5 seconds up. And ASM has radios in the car, so they will all know kind of their relative pace. But I think Tom's just trying to get whatever he can get in case someone gets really comfortable the last lap or 2 here in qualifying. Yellow flag in corner number 11. And there's Matan Rosenberg, and there's 1 car off. That is the new driver this weekend, the 546 of Andy Sundin. So he's going to head to pit lane. Wes Case in the background. Big slip there. Hope he gathered that one up. But that looked like a big moment, but not going super fast. So should have been able to lock that down.
Going to see a lot of those.
Yeah. Justin Barty in that 24. You mentioned him. He's up to 8th. That's a great run. Scott Robertson in 7th. Those are great times for that group. Jeff Preston in 9th. Joel Morrison in 10th. So representative laps, yes. The bottom half of the top 10 is a little unique, though. This is not quite the order that I was expecting or anticipating, and that's kind of the exciting thing to mix things up just a little bit.
And as we know with these short races throughout the weekend, that's going to help them. And obviously you can move your way up through the field after race 1 if you get a faster lap to set the set the field for race number 2. But at least for race 1 to defend position, that's going to really help a lot of these guys out in the points. If they're able to use this qualifying session to their advantage, even if they don't go very fast, they can obviously move up through the field and go faster than some others and help their starting spot to begin off this weekend.
I don't know how much aggression is being rewarded right now. You see Tom being really aggressive, but Tom is able to hang this car out, and he's getting very comfortable with it sideways. He told me this morning that he used an expletive before he told me how phenomenal this car was now after they made a shock adjustment and a differential change. So he's really happy with how the car's handling, and that's a dangerous thing for everybody else.
Yeah, if he's happy, everybody else needs to be on watch out.
Yeah.
He's already only 1 point behind Smedegaard in the standings, and they've got a bit of a cushion back to 3rd, 4th, and so on. So if he's able to pull anything on Smedegaard, he's maybe off to the races, literally and figuratively, after this one here in Chicago.
Yeah, so Paul Curley, 3rd place in the standings, is not here this weekend. So that will be a bit of a gap that they can establish on the 3rd place.
Swenson now in the 3rd, 158.2.
Good slide up the order for him.
Good slide there, literally.
Wow, Austin Hurdle trying to get everything. He's attacking there. He's on a Joel Morrison off of the background. This is a challenging part of the racetrack. That is certain. Matan Rosenberg going for a slip, but it just looks like ice. I'm sure everyone's gritting their teeth right now just trying to get whatever they can because this is such an important session. Kerry James just went up to 10th. How about Aremus Karosis? We saw him have that big slide. A 207.505 puts him inside the top 10.
Well, you know, if they are sliding, that usually means power's at least being put down in some regard. So that's a little bit of Tom almost just went off. That was sketchy.
Well, he almost spun the car out. For Tom to put a car off track, it has to be really sketchy. Lewis Chatroop in the background drops 2 tires off in the grass. But again, around the outside, big slide for Tomo. This is not the drift session, but he's certainly making it look like that.
Yeah, the drift guys, they're going to have things, their hands full.
Yeah.
This is going to be interesting.
He's up 3 seconds on everybody else.
We need some brighter gloves for these guys so we can really see the handwork inside the car, see how many flies they're swatting, and get a flight count. That'd be good for
Scott Robertson up to 5th place. Matt Waldbaum up to 6th. Great lap for the 2-1-3 from Robertson Racing.
Upham picked up.
Yep, Upham up to 7th.
James in the top 10.
And 31 cars have attempted at time. Ronnie Solomon again involved in that incident with the wall early in the session. We'll get an update on him a little bit later for you if we can. But again, that car nosed into the barriers on the front straightaway at the very beginning of a very slippery and treacherous session.
You know, I spoke with Kerry James last night getting pictures of these guys, and I asked him, what's one thing that I need to know about you? Obviously, I'm brand new to Grid Life, brand new to all these drivers, learning names and faces very quickly. What's one thing I need to know about you? And he said, well, I've got the best car out here, just the best looking car, the best car. That's what I feel about it. And to be at a 208, be in the top 10 in a BMW M3 in wet qualifying, I think that says something. He's definitely got a good piece underneath him, and that's going to help him out, obviously, for race 1. And, to see BMW as well in the top 10 is actually pretty promising. It means we're getting a good mix of cars up front.
A couple of them. There's a few of those up there. Ryan Upham in 7th is in a BMW M3 of a similar generation to the 44 Kerry James. Upham's got that K-Series engine in it. James has the original inline 6. But Kerry James, it's funny that you mentioned that he's happy with this car. I spoke to him at Grid Life Midwest. He ran top 5 all weekend there. He told me, I'm not happy with how this car's handling. I mean, you're 5th in a field of 55 cars. What is good enough? And I think now he's really feeling confident in that car, especially after such a good weekend in such a big field. Matan Rosenberg up to 11th, Jeff Preston up to 10th, Joel Morrison jumps up to 9th. So even some cars that we've seen sideways and backwards are now finding some grip, at least enough to move forward. Here is Vitus Aronauskis in the 144, brand new livery on this car this weekend with Venera on the side. Great looking BMW that he's got here with us this weekend. And we've seen this car in the past back at Midwest, but all new wrap. And again, when you mentioned about how professional these cars look, some of these teams go to a lot of effort to make their cars look professional.
Seriously, looking a lot better than even professional race cars do sometimes. They are fantastic looking. Of course, the ASM guys have a leg up on a lot of people in that regard, but you mentioned Aronauskis there, and there have been several others that have caught my eye. What I really like about the 144 for Aronauskis, I was watching practice yesterday, I guess the track day that was held, and into turn 1, each and every time, when he turned in, when he chucked the car into the corner, he picked up the right front each and every time. So he's got a rather soft suspension in that car, and we'll see if anybody else is able to tripod.
Well, I think a soft suspension in conditions like this are great. Gives you more mechanical grip, so that's something that we could certainly see be an advantage. Checkered flag now for qualifying in Grid Life Touring Cup. Adam Jabay waving the flag there. And again, drivers will be able to finish their flying laps. There are a handful of them out there. So O'Gorman, Smedegaard, Swenson, Tab, and Scott Robertson. What a lap, a 2-minute.129. That's a great effort there by the Robertson Racing crew. Matt Walbaum, Ryan Upham, Dustin Barty, Joel Morrison, Jeff Preston. All great laps. Just outside the top 10, we saw Jake Jornstad out of the car before qualifying. I think he's up to 12th, so really strong runs there. One car that we haven't seen a lot of, surprisingly, is Eric Jensen. And Jensen, again, is one of the front runners, but only 25th quick in this session. So that's a little bit of a surprise, and he's going to have some work to do. But I've seen Eric have issues with this car in the rain in the past. I just don't know if it's very well mannered when it's wet and slippery out there.
I know you've got some high praises right now for Robertson, but if we look back at the results at AMP, he was inside the top 10 every race. Lowest finish of 10th, best finish of 6th, a 9th and an 8th in there for good measure. The only off, I guess, weekend that he's had so far this year was last time out at Midwest, a 54th, 32nd, 22nd, 54th. So it is good to see them back on track, but it's not like it's anything out of the ordinary to see them doing well. 4 top 10 finishes 3 weekends ago, I guess, or 3 races ago at AMP.
So checkered flag falls here. A long session in qualifying, and that, wow, look at that. That was really sketchy. There's a couple of drivers coming back around to finish up. Matt Walbaum on the outside almost got clobbered there as they come on through and head towards pit lane. They're still finishing up flyers. See how much sideways motion you get. But a long session, so we got enough laps in to hopefully get some representative lap times for the entire field. Here's Pat Reyes coming on through.
Hurdle in the top 10 now, Morrison.
Wow, that's Austin Hurdle, great lap. So GLTC qualifying is complete with 26 minutes on the board. And we'll have a quick rundown here for you in just a moment as we prep for our next session, which will be time attack. Pole sitter for race number 1, Tom O'Gorman will be on your pole alongside teammate Andy Smedegaard. Down the list, I've got Austin Hurdle in P11, Joel Morrison 14th, Julio Crispin in the number 911, Vitas Aronowskis, great lap there. Micaiah Hackbarth, another driver would have thought would have been a little higher up the order. Wes Case, 27th, and then down the list, Joe Tulo in 31st, Ronnie Solomon with the accident at turn number 15. So that's unfortunate for him, but that's what things look like at this stage. Pole for the number 94, Tom O'Gorman.
Yeah, and Tulo eventually got a time in. Solomon, of course, did not. So we had 31 cars officially take a time. Stephen Cox is down there in 30th spot. Hopefully those guys can turn some things around and go faster, at least in race 1, and better their starting spots for race number 2. So a lot to watch for, and all we've seen so far is a wet qualifying session.
Qualifying complete here for GLTC race number 1 later today. Make sure you tune in. That'll be just after 3:30, a little closer to 4 at that point. So tune in for that. We got plenty more coming your way. Time attack up in just a couple minutes, and then we'll be doing some drift action before we have a short break this mid-afternoon. Coverage of Grid Life Chicago is brought to you by Momo, made in Italy since 1964. And by FCP Euro. Every part you buy is guaranteed for life. And by eBay Motors. Let's ride. And by Falcon Tires. The Falcon Azenas RT660 is the official tire of Club TR.
At 303, we're always chasing perfection. At 303, we're always chasing perfection. Protect your ride with graphene nanospray coating. Now, boost protection, shine, and slickness with Graphene Detailer. Level up your detailing game. Harness the power of graphene with 303.
Ooh. Call Logano. Hey, Joey, you can save money if you fill up at Shell if you use Advanced Auto Parts Speed Perks.
Dude, I'm way ahead of you.
You saved at the pump?
Yeah, I saved at the pump.
The pump?
The pump.
You saved at the pump!
Woo!
Now you can save at the pump when you shop at Advance Auto Parts. Learn more at advanceautoparts.com/gas rewards.
Now, it's my turn.
The more power you have, the more grip you have, the more you push the limits, the more stopping power you need. Get race-proven technology. Hawk Performance.
Hey, we still on this weekend for a little?
You know it. I'm in desperate need of some.
What about you, Jim?
No, my sister's getting the wedding. She's getting married, so.
When adventure calls, make sure you're ready to answer. Stable 360 ethanol treatment is specifically formulated for year-round use, so your engines will be ready when you are. Ready, willing, stable.
We've been powering the American road since before it was paved. Our first breakthrough in motor oil was introducing it. And we've been reinventing it ever since. From the world's first high-mileage oil to the world's first synthetic blend. There are those who change with the times, and those who drive them. Valvoline, the original motor oil.
Ferris Cartoony, 183, and sets a blistering new track record. GRIDLIFE TrackBattle takes on Chicago. Autobahn Country Club plays host to the 5th round of the season in GRIDLIFE TrackBattle, and it's time for Group A here in our weekend of competition. Kyle Heyer alongside Andrew Cardinale the 4th as we get prepared for our time attack sessions here this afternoon. And Andrew, we just saw GLTC qualifying. Now we're moving ourselves into time attack, and boy, is it slippery out there. I don't think we're going to see any track records. I do think we're going to see a lot of people try really hard to go fast, and it's going to be fun to watch at the very least.
But it isn't a complete wash like we thought it might be if the rain continued, and as we saw this morning, it wasn't great. Rain all over the place, track completely wet, but it's drying out now. So it is slick out there. There isn't a whole lot of rubber, obviously, but the track is not, like I said, a complete wash as we thought it might be. So this isn't a complete wasted session for these guys. I can get some, at the very least, get some data, get an idea for how the track might progress throughout the weekend. It's not as we would have hoped for Saturday afternoon, but it's not that bad.
Well, let's have a look at the track map here. Again, this is a 2.1-mile circuit, Autobahn Country Club's south course. 15 turns. Here's a look at it. Start-finish line is the bottom right of your screen right there. That's where you're going to kick things off and start the lap. Short front straightaway into turn 1, turn 2, turn 3. Right, right, left. Straight shot through the trees into turn 4. Then high speed, high commitment corners 5, 6, 7 into turn 8, 9, 10. That's a real tight kind of stadium section there, if you will. Big, long straightaway. A lot of opportunity to let the big cars breathe. Turn 11, 12, chicane there at the end of the lap, Andrew. 13, 14, 15, a couple right hand and then a left hand kink to end the lap. But a fast racetrack. About the same size as Gingerman Raceway where we were 2 weeks ago, but the lap time's almost 15 seconds less.
And I spoke with Dana Baczynski last night. It feels like, there aren't many high-speed corners here, but the ones that there are, 3, 4, 5, and even 6 and 7, those are going to matter the most. The low-speed corners, especially 9 and 10, you got to get yourself in rhythm and really hold yourself back a little bit before you get back on power for that long back straightaway. But otherwise, those high-speed corners are going to matter so much this weekend, especially in track battle to maximize your lap times. And really as well, 13 and 14 to hit that first apex in 13 and maximize your speed onto the front stretch and begin your lap on a good note.
So cars on track now as we get prepped for our time and tech sessions here this weekend. Again, lap time records is what everybody always shoots for, and you spend hours and days and weeks preparing for these events, and then it rains, and then you can't break a record, and it kind of ruins your day.
Yeah.
But you're still competing against other people. So given the track conditions that you have here this weekend, you're going to try to do the best you can. So with cars on track, we'll get you lap times here shortly, and we'll go through the whole host of drivers we got. To see a big Camaro going for a slide there. Lots of people, and 80 drivers entered in competition here this weekend in time attack action. That's the number 525 car in our list of drivers here this weekend. And in my track battle list, car number 525, I don't actually have on my list, so maybe a number change there for the blue Chevrolet Corvette ZL1 that is racing with us. Looks like Josh Halka, the number 7, though. That's a Subaru STI that's jumped to the top of the board, a 158.708. We saw O'Gorman do a 153 in a GLTC car. Dana Basinski in a Club TR number 109. That's a K-Swap BRZ, a 158.926. And Andreas Bertulis in the number 171 up to 3rd place. Now, you see on the left-hand side of the screen, in that ticker, you've got a whole bunch of colors that associate themselves with classes. And we've got a track, or I should say a class guide that we'll walk you through here shortly as well. Anyone in colored red, that is our unlimited category. Anyone in orange is track modified. Teal is our street modified class. Blue, there we go. Blue is our street class. Yellow is street GT. Gray is our Falcon Club TR class, and the pink is our Falcon Sunday Cup, of which we have several cars in this group on track right now. Big slide for Dana Basinski in the 109. You were talking to him last night, getting to know Dana out of the ASM camp in Plover, Wisconsin, and this is a driver that is extremely talented and just continues to explore the boundaries in this Falcon Club TR class.
Yeah, I had a great time talking to him, learning about the car, and everything's new to me. So talking about the K-Swapped FRS there for him, and just learning about why they would have done that in the first place and how it's helped him out as he washes way out wide of that curbing. It was a good time just talking to those guys and getting to meet a lot of the ASM guys and really the entire paddock yesterday, at least those that were here. He's definitely putting out on the line as he comes around turn 14, back onto the front stretch through 15. And that might be why we saw a car in the wall at one point in the qualifying section for GLTC.
It was fast. 157.374, wow. Top of the board for Dana Basinski in our group of qualifiers here. And again, I think this is kind of a grouped session because what happened essentially is with the track conditions not being ideal, a whole bunch of groups were put together. Whoa. Wow, big slide for Basinski through turn 3, gathered it back up, but he's getting after it right now.
Halka, I think, also just went quicker, and you can see the track times, or the lap times, are still pretty similar to what we saw in GLTC qualifying. They're not far off, and I think the bottom of the field is a little bit closer in this case, but already Basinski, Halka, they're getting a little bit further down than those guys did for the most part in that qualifying session. So the track is drying out, picking up speed, and putting some rubber down. But Basinski is amazing to watch right now, really entertaining at the very least, and he's going fast too. So clearly something's working for that FRS.
Yeah, I'm gonna correct you because I get really particular about this. This is a Subaru BRZ.
Okay.
Now, the reason I say this is because everyone is like, hey, how's your BRZ? I'm like, I have an FRS. It's a different, it's the same thing. It's the same thing, but it's a different thing. So I'm going to make that correction. It is orange like mine.
So it's a GR86, right?
No. There is a GR86 on track. That's Fez Bobber. He's the 9th place right now overall. It's a bright yellow car, if we get a shot of that a little bit later. He's fighting with Jim Smith-Aline in the 334, who's up in 6th right now. There was a friendly rivalry coming into the weekend about which of those two drivers will be faster in our Falcon Club TR class, but neither are faster than Dana Basinski and Peter Granberg, which is another K-Swap BRZ. So looks like that particular car as he goes for a spin. Yep. Wow. 1, 2, 3 loops around.
Well, we saw him loose there a little while ago, a bit of that oversteer, obviously with track still being a little bit damp, but glad he caught that. He was quickly trending over to that left side wall. Glad he caught it. He can get back after it now.
And he's going to skip pit lane. He's going to go back after it, just get your confidence back up. But I think for some drivers, as Josh Halka goes to the top of the board at 154.5, I think some drivers will take that spin and they'll just shake it off and get back out, and they know where the limit is now. You know, at the exit of turn number 12, now you know where you're going to spin.
Yeah, but he got back into rhythm real quick. He looks good through 1 and 2. So hopefully this lap will be right back on track for him, both literally and figuratively, just right back where he needs to be as he's dropping down the order now, because those guys got that good lap in as the track dries out, and the sun is starting to poke out of the clouds. So definitely the track is picking up. Halka at a 154, first time we've seen that. Davey in the 156s, even Smith-Aline is getting up there, but Bertulis is looking good in the 171, the only car of his class in the top 10.
Yeah, it's an unlimited car. We don't have a ton of them here this weekend. Unfortunately, we don't have Ferris Khartoumi, which I think he'll be back for Mid-Ohio, which will be a lot of fun. That's the car that we always have the cameras pointed at. Here's a couple Sunday Cup cars out here, and I did tell the Sunday Cup guys that we were going to focus on them a lot this weekend because of this big combined group. I don't think we're going to get a chance to look at them as much as I would like to, but we're going to follow them all weekend long. The Sunday Cup, Falcon Sunday Cup category, the best way to get into track competition at the cheapest possible price. You buy yourself a fit. It is your camper, it is your daily, it is your race car, and I think we're going to see so many of those drivers having a lot of fun here this weekend. But Dana's still getting after it right now in the ASM 109, and just trying to get back on the horse after that loop a lap ago.
Starting to watch more times filter in, and then getting closer to having the entire top 10 under 2 minutes. When do you think we'll actually see that? I mean, is it going to take maybe until the drift guys go out on track, of course, lay down some more rubber, dry the track out more? I mean, do you think we'll see the full top 10 going under sub 2 minute?
Yeah, probably. I think we'll see that. Andreas Bertulis just jumps up to a 1:53.917. Yeah, I mean, I think we'll see everyone get under 2 minutes. I don't think the track's going to be perfect for another couple of hours, I would think. There's a lot of areas where there's still a lot of standing water. Basinski again improves to a 1:50.97. Again, these are not going to be record-breaking lap times by any stretch, but Dana's really getting after it, probably harder than anybody else. A little bit of a stack up here at turn 3 behind a couple of other competitors. But Jim Smith-Aline is in an S2000 in the 334, so the rivalry between Jim, that's a black Honda S2000, and Fez Bobber in the yellow GR86, that friendly rivalry extended a little bit because of the S2000 versus GR86 FRS BRZ platform, but I think they're also just kind of having fun with their weekend.
Do you think for some of these cars that actually have wings, maybe this crosswind is doing anything? It's coming towards them as they turn through turn 1. Do you think that's maybe doing anything? Maybe crosswind in some of these faster corners, picking up under the wing and getting these cars a little bit loose?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's some of that. Look at, wow, big moment there for Dana off into the braking zone. But yeah, I think for the most part, it is windy out here. I don't think it's going to be a huge effect. It's not going to turn you sideways or anything. But headwind and tailwind, you're going to notice in cars that don't have as much power. So that can certainly be something to be paying attention to. Other cars, Ido Waxman is in a BMW 1 Series. He's down in 8th in Falcon Club TR. And I should just mention, by the way, here's Fez Bobber in this yellow GR86, if we could follow him for a bit. That car is one I got a chance to ride in at GridLife Midwest a couple of weeks ago. Again, Subaru sourced 2.4-liter Boxer engine, but they just made supplemental improvements off of the previous generation car, and man, is it a rocket ship for what it is and the money that you pay for it. Great looking car. Here is one of our STIs, and there are several of them. This is the 310. I think this is Mike Coons behind the wheel of this car. And indeed it is. Mike Coons out of Columbia, Missouri, a 2009 WRX STI, running in the street category.
Halka.
And Halka, top of the board, a 149.198, and a similar STI. Halka's, of course, in the number 7.
Getting some good times down now. Waxman goes way up into the 6th spot, 4th of his class, ahead of Davey, Team NRB, Coons and Davidson, the rest of the top 10, 57s now. So everybody picking up time. Wenzel, the only driver in this heat not to put down a time. This is heat number 2 on the day. So, and these are all their best times now. So in the event something happens to some of these guys, they can't get a session or 2 in today or early tomorrow, this could be the time they stand with for quite a day, obviously, or quite a time, obviously. Heat 1, a wash.
Yeah, I mean, this morning there was a time attack session, but what was the point of that? I mean,
yeah.
It was soaked earlier today. Right now, the conditions are improving, but Halka at a 149.198, both him and Basinski, who is following, will be going faster later this weekend. Probably tomorrow is going to early morning sessions, or be the one that we would expect to be the quick one. Jim Smith-Aline up to 3rd place in the 334 S2000, a 152.444. So move Jim Smith-Aline up to P3. Andres Bertulis down to 4th, and Fez Bobber closing in on that Smith-Aline battle. So 3 seconds between those two. Grant Davidson in Falcon Club TR up to 6th place overall, a 155.656. Ido Waxman right there as well. So again, I think Falcon Club TR, that's the vast majority of cars in this session, and that is a really tight gaggle of cars amongst that group, and I think that class is going to be the one to watch this weekend. So checkered flag here for Time Attack Group A. And again, because of the adjustment with not as many cars going out when it's wet, I think we have some slightly combined groups here. So we might get one more group instead of two. So cars will head back to the paddock, and we'll turn on our other group here shortly. But in terms of takeaways from that, I don't think we can learn a ton, unfortunately. It's just one of those sessions that, you know, guys like Jackie Ding are not going to go out and run laps in because you're not going to learn anything. Guys like Jackie, they know how their car handles in the wet. They just know that they're not going to break records. They're not going to be competitive. So why would you go out and run a lap where you could break something and be out for the weekend in a session that you know you're not going to win the weekend on? So either you're not going to run, or you're going to run at a time when the track is in a good position, temperature, all that sort of stuff. So that's where we're at as the next group of cars is lined up here, waiting to be released.
And based off times that came in, we don't have a full results graphic for you, but Josh Halka fastest, Basinski second. Smith-Aline ended up going third. It looks like Bertulis very quick, inside the top 5. The fastest front-wheel drive car I could find is Grant Davidson down to the 6th spot, number 74, Club TR. I don't see, let's see, 2 more front-wheel drive cars. Matthew Davey and Team NRB also checking into the top 10. So a good mix, even as the track was drying out, a good mix to see even a few front-wheel drive cars getting into that top 10.
I am going to eat my words, though, because I did see on the grid right at the pointy end is Jackie Ding in that PHT Supra. Now, I think at this point, he hasn't really been on track at all yet this weekend, so I think this might be his first go. But I was surprised that he wasn't in the first group. Now, that's probably because he wasn't gridded in Group A yet, but he will be once he runs a lap in this session. So he actually might have to run a lap to get himself gridded up for the proper group moving forward. And for folks asking how many run groups there are, typically there's 3. This weekend there was supposed to be 4, A, B, C, D. But I think because of the lack of good track conditions, we're kind of pairing some of them up together. So that's where we're at. You're watching GRIDLIFE Track Battle Time Attack from GRIDLIFE Chicago Autobahn Country Club, just outside of Joliet, Illinois, and Chicago. And setting up for a long weekend. Well, I don't want to say a long weekend. It's a fairly short weekend, actually. Long days, especially for the stream crew that's out there. They've been working so hard to get this prepped. All the guys behind the scenes that are sitting in camera perches for 5 hours this afternoon. Big thanks to them, and I can't express my gratitude enough for how hard they've been working to get this place set up. Autobahn Country Club, again, a great facility. It's fun to be here. This is a great racetrack. Again, while it's flat, it has a lot of character, which is kind of unique for a flat racetrack, I'd say.
Yeah, as we mentioned earlier, only 18 feet of elevation change. This is a beautiful view. You can see just how flat and wide open things are in the back end of the circuit. I mean, it is flat, wide open. There's also so much room to go off track. If you do have something go wrong, there's not a whole lot of things to hit out there. But that's what we saw, things so wet and so treacherous through the first couple of sessions of the day, at least on stream here, because where is the water going to go? But I mean, this is a beautiful scenic place, even in the industrial feeling Joliet, Illinois. This is really cool.
Yeah, Joliet is, if you're not familiar with the area, is home to a massive shipping, I don't know what you'd call it, container yards, basically, surrounded on all sides by the commerce of the Chicago area.
Imagine the big shipping docks of LA, but just put them straight in the middle of Illinois.
Yeah, I mean, it's everything that comes into and out of Chicago on a container, on a train, on a boat, on a truck. You can see in the background there all the trucking and container operations that happen here. Trains 24 hours a day, getting you your Amazon Prime 2-day shipping on your your box of contacts or whatever you're ordering. This is how it happens, and it happens just outside here. The other thing, you can see the stacks of containers. The other thing that's nearby is Chicagoland Speedway, 1.5 mile paved oval that was used in NASCAR up until 2018. Hoping it returns, because I moved here after they stopped using the track, and I'm kind of bummed now. Here's Jackie Ding in the number 86 PHT Supra. This car can either make around 500 horsepower or north of 600. There's a toggle switch that can switch and put it into what they call kill mode, and it just goes. So at GRIDLIFE Midwest, Jackie had caught COVID, wasn't able to join us. He had his crew chief and engineer, Alex Lee, drive the car there and did pretty well, but Alex is in his own car here this weekend in a GT3 RS. Jackie is in this number 86 Toyota Supra. And they've been a big proponent of this chassis. PhD brings a whole bunch of these, a lot in the street GT category, but this has been kind of their proving ground for PhD's aero solutions as well as their engine work. And this engine has stock internals. This engine has not been opened up, and it makes north of 600 horsepower. The car makes mid-300s stock. So they've just proved that you can tack on massive turbos and push all sorts of stuff, just thousands of cubic feet of air through this engine every minute, and it just makes power, and reliably so. The biggest challenge they had was blowing off the hose clamps to keep everything together. There was so much air pressure, but they've really proven that this chassis is a very capable car on track.
Yeah, Toyota's done a great job of getting these cars pretty much where they need to be, just off the showroom floor. I mean, they're fantastic looking cars as well. It's no surprise that we're seeing a big Supra revival now that we have a new Supra out on showroom floors, able to be bought by anybody, and
it does look
beautiful. That is a good looking car.
Some people would say, we're talking about all the fake vents on the sides of these cars, and the reason why, there is a reason why those fake vents exist, and it's not because they just thought they would look cool. This car is styled mostly off of the Toyota FT1 concept car, which dimensionally was a very different car. Now, when Toyota and BMW linked up to build this car, they basically dropped this on the chassis that BMW was developing for the Z4. So they had to scale all the dimensions down from the FT1 concept. That was the original styling inspiration for this car. And so you get just really narrow vents that wouldn't do anything on this car, even if they were open. They're a great styling feature, but again, if you open up those vents behind the door, they're not going anywhere. So there's not really much of a point to have them functional anyway. I think they look great. I think this car gets a lot of hate, and I don't think it should.
Yeah, no, it's a beautiful car, and a lot of people hate on it for being on a BMW platform or whatever, but it's a good car. Does it work? Yes,
it works,
and that's what matters.
Let's follow Jackie Ding for a little bit. 86 Supra going for a fast lap or whatever he can pass off as a fast lap with how slippery and treacherous it has been, but the track is drying, and Ding is going for a lap right now. Following this street modified car, Ding again usually battles nose to nose with Alex Moss in the ASM Super K. I have not seen that car on track yet this session, but we'll keep an eye on it for you. There also is some Sunday Cup cars out there. You see the bottom of the ticker, Dar, Wolf, Carson's, Novelli, and more. So we'll get some Sunday Cup action in there for you as well, if we can. But Jackie through the backside of the racetrack, big slide there, and on the power again. And if you want to know car control, Jackie's got it. He can hang this thing out sideways at Mach 3 and still somehow crush lap times and break records with it. But it has been unruly at times. And here's an example of how much PhD has developed this aero. At COTA, at another event last year, they had the wing for this car mounted on the trunk. And they were making so much downforce that it was actually bending the trunk off of the car. So that weekend, they actually had to weld the wing to the chassis, and that's how it's been ever since. But that's how much downforce this makes. It does north of 160 on the straight. Yeah, 133. That's a really fast lap considering the conditions right now.
And that's exactly where all of the GTLC guys thought they would be yesterday, and were yesterday in the dry. Yeah, that is flying around here. Johnson at a 141.2. We'll see a lot more of these guys in the 40s. Yeah, Santos, Vo, both dropping into the 140, 45, 47, 46.
Look at this stack up here. So if Jackie comes back around, he's going to have a lot of cars in his way. So he's going to have to maximize the clear track ahead of him right now. He will be put in Group A later this weekend, obviously. This is not the group that he should be participating in based on the speed of that car and the relative speed of the other cars. But he will have some traffic to contend with here if he doesn't get off track after this next flyer. But look how he's just carrying so much speed. It is not dry yet. It's close, but it's not quite there.
It is very close, though. We should have a dry track a lot sooner than I think we thought we would. So we're going to have a pretty good chance to see some good lap times even in this session. We've got, 15 more minutes or so to go. So plenty of time to see these guys pick up. And you're seeing some rubber getting laid down. They picked some up. As you can see, some of the lighter grooves in the racetrack, but that'll start to be laid right back down, I think. As Pucci into the top 10, Muse, Ma, Koval, and so many more finally putting down some good times. 58 is the slowest in the top 10. The slowest in the session, a 2:12, and here we saw 2:30.
Yeah.
So we're picking up, and that's a Sunday Cup car.
Yeah, again, Sunday Cup car with all of maybe 80 wheel horsepower.
Yeah.
Ding across the line, a 132.67. I don't think that was an improvement. Again, this is showing fastest lap time versus previous. So Jamie Santos in the number 54 runs third. Al's Auto Body, that's Cal Fortner behind the wheel. And this is an unlimited class car this weekend, but the car that Cal is running right now in the Al's Auto Body car, that is actually their old 2006 Audi S3 that they're running, not the Mercedes AMG GTS that he would have run. That car had a power steering issue and will not be functional here this weekend. There's the 41. Rolling around right now, Falcon Club TR category car. And that is Foster Johnson out of Des Moines, Iowa. That's an 03 S2000 Falcon Club TR. And Alan Ma up to third overall in a track modified car. Alex Westergaard goes quicker in his street modified Honda S2000. Alan Ma in the 377, I believe, is in a Porsche something or other. I got to pick up what car. 377. My track battle list. I need to correct myself so I can remember this for the rest of the day. Alan is in a 2016 Porsche GT3 RS in that track modified car.
Brad Moore now into the top 10 in his BMW M2. 2017, one of the newer cars in the field. Obviously, we saw the Supra out there for Jackie Lynn. We're seeing more of the newer cars, obviously, in track battle than we saw in GLTC. But Fleury now into the top 10 in the 829.
I think I was mistaken earlier when Jackie ran that second lap. He actually did go quicker, a 130.2. I thought that was a 133, so 130.267. That's quick, and it will continue to be so. He's going to head for pit lane, I think, this time through, or just to cool down. Here comes Foster Johnson again. Right behind, that's Ito Wax. No, that's not Ito Waxman in that car. I got to figure out. That's what Ito's car looks like. Another one of those BMW 1M clones. But on the front straightaway across the line, let's see, catch the car number on the side of this. That is the 54. Oh, that is Jamie Santos, rather, by the way. He's up in second, a 136.573. That's cooking in one of these 1 Series cars.
And he's not the only BMW up there. We were just talking about Brad Moore up there. Now Ma goes up to second place in the 377, a 136.139. A few 136s out there, and Santos and Westergaard on top of each other.
Yeah, and both in the same category, so that's something that they'll be watching all weekend. Again, I think everyone's going to have a better opportunity later this weekend, but should things go south, and they can with the way the weather is out here, it's good to get a banker lap, and I think that's what everyone's trying to establish right now. You mentioned Moore. That's the number 931. That is a Street GT car, so again, in terms of class colors, red unlimited, orange is track modified, teal is street modified, yellow is Street GT, blue is street, then it's gray for Falcon Club TR, and pink for Falcon Sunday Cup.
And Brad is one of the few Street GTs we've got out here, right? I didn't see many yellow in Group A, and we've only got one here in Group B.
There's only a couple of them, which is a little bit of a surprise. Street GT is typically a pretty sizable class. We have about 8 or 9 cars total in the Street GT class here this weekend. So they also include Michael Barnes, Sam McWatkin, Mike Kubayek, Steve Luca, Ruben Manrique, and Keenan Prusenk, all running in the Street GT category here this weekend.
Kyle Karsten's the fastest so far in Sunday Cup in his 2012 Honda Fit out of Kenosha, Wisconsin. Washington.
Kenosha, Washington. Here's Scott Hollingsworth, by the way. We should mention Scott setting up for his laps here in Street Modified in his Honda S2000. There's a couple fits. Let's watch some fits for a little bit. I love Sunday Cup. Again, we were talking earlier about how much fun they have for how little money they spend. There's Pete Lindbergh, I think, is out there as well. Or maybe that's not Lindbergh. It's let's see what car number we got here. 969. 201. So it's Dar, Fez Dar. So again, these guys have so much fun in cars that make sub 100 wheel horsepower. But the key to this class is that it's relatively spec. It's on the spec Falcon RT660. You can't really do a lot. You can do suspension, you can do brakes, but other than that, these cars are all slow. But this is the classic slow car fast and utilitarian track day, because this car, almost everybody here, I don't think anybody trailered their fit here. They drove these from 200 miles away, 500 miles away, 800
Kathleen
miles
Georgia,
away.
Fez Dar. That's
exactly.
That is a haul.
It is a haul. So he drove that car here, sleeps in that car here. I mean, this is the kind of commitment that the Sunday Cup guys have, and he works his way, or is getting passed by the.
And you know what? The cool thing about being in these cars, you get to see all the faster cars go by. You get to watch them go by.
Well,
marvel at Jackie Ding, for example, going by in his Supra, and get a look at what everybody else brought to the track. But hey, you know what? This, just just like any other rookie-ish series, if you will, be it Spec Miata Racing or even Spec Racer 4s or anything like that, Skip Barber's even, it teaches you how to maximize corner speed, how to carry speed through the corner. So if you're working your way up and you want to start off in Sunday Cup and track battle, it's a good way to learn exactly how to maximize, especially for a lap time,
so
your mid-corner speed, how to carry that speed through the corner.
So Sunday Cup is really a tale of two worlds, right? Because it is an entry-level time attack class for a variety of reasons, but it's also, I've heard co-founder of GridLife, Chris Stewart, call it a safety net. Because when you move up through the categories and, okay, now you buy a street mod car or you're working on an unlimited class car and you spend tens of thousands of dollars, Sunday Cup is where a lot of drivers have gone to find relief to the endless amounts of dollars that you need to spend to stay competitive in other classes. This is, I mean, Adam Jabay, our other co-founder, runs in this, and he also has a GLTC car, but he finds this as much fun because there's just so little pressure and stress. It's a fit. You can't blow them up if you tried. They're just such reliable cars. And there is the 411 of Kyle Carson's, who's currently leading in the category. It's just so much fun to watch. And again, later this weekend, when they have kind of their own run group, we're going to get to follow them along, and they're going to run nose to tail. But jumping curbs and carrying speed, Tom O'Gorman said that he learned to race in Pirelli World Challenge and won championships in a fit. That's where his pro career started. And I think he credits a lot of his success to learning how to drive in a car with not a lot of power.
I'm just saying, I would pay to show up and see a Sunday Cup race. Like 3 laps, send these guys out, let them have a little bit of fun. I would pay to see that. I mean, they would be on top of each other around a place like Autobahn, for example. It'd be so cool to see. But out here on track, just putting laps down, it's also cool to see. You also see the contrast of speed as that S2000 just goes right on by.
And again, it's the slow car fast thing. I think people at home are watching trackside might go, wow, those cars are slow. That wouldn't be any fun. I've ridden in a Sunday Cup car at speed, and you're going,
you're still racing.
It's not. If you're used to being on track, it's like not that fast. But if you don't know how fast these cars can go, because you don't drive them like this on the street, or at least you shouldn't. And you really carry a lot more speed. There's Kevin Vo, by the way, that red FRS that just passed by this shot there. Yeah, that is an FA20 based FRS, which is the original engine that came in these cars. And he passes on by. I think he's in Falcon Club TR as well. But here's the Fitz kind of queuing up to run together. The 201 of Dar and the 411 of Kyle Carson's running nose to tail. Love those bright gloves so you can see the hands going to work here.
Yes, that's a great aid for us and everybody else watching. Just see how much work they're doing inside the car, especially when you have the wet track and you can see how much they're trying to fight with it. Now we've got, I think, realistically a dry track.
And you know what else about Sunday Cup cars? What do you not see? Brake lights ever, because you're never slowing down, and that's really, really fun to just try to tip the car in and carry as much speed as possible. You're balancing the car on the nose a lot in the brakes. As you hit those brakes, the rear end's going to come up off the ground. Just a slight tap on the brakes to get the weight forward, turn in, and then you're just carrying the car around.
Let it set and chuck it.
Yep, and that's exactly the way that you make speed in these things. You just have to carry momentum, and you see Carson's getting a point by here. It looks like Dar's going to follow him now. Switching spots and moving through. Carson up a position.
As far as the top of the board, is a few more cars getting lined up here, it looks like. But Ding still at a 130, now a 130.267. I think it's been at that time for a little while now. Westergaard at a 134.869. Ma is down to a 136.139. A few other 36s with him there from Santos, Johnson, and Fleury. ALS Auto at a 139.5. Brad Moore just behind at a 139.8. And Vo and Caval wrapping up the rest of your top 10. Muse is very close. Muse actually could maybe usurp that spot for the top 10.
So heading into the backside of the racetrack now is Mike Amick, sits on pit lane, ready to go for a lap. That's the number 6 Subaru STI that is waiting to go out there. Amick, I believe, was class winner back at Midwest a couple of weeks ago in that number 6, so he's really in position to try to do that again. Jackie Ding on site, that'll be a challenge.
I'm just saying, Kyle, I'm clearly not the only one thinking of wheel-to-wheel racing with Sunday Cup.
Well, okay, so there's not a lot of information that I can give about this, but we did announce this at GridLife Midwest softly, that GridLife is currently working on a rule set for a endurance-style event with several different race lengths over the course of a weekend with 3 separate categories. So class racing, by the way, Cutlass, in case you weren't...
I just looked up and got real confused.
Yeah, that's Cody Hunt in the Cutlass, and we'll get back to that car in a second. But in terms of multi-class racing, we are planning on a rule set, and one of the classes is essentially Sunday Cup with a roll cage is one of the classes. And so that is in development, and there's not a lot more we can say about that right now, but coming soon. to Grid Life competition. That is Cody Hunt. It's 1987?
85.
85. Thank you for pulling that.
I've talked about some of the newer cars in the field. We had GLTC are now Track Battle, but that's one of the older ones that I've seen so far. 1985. That is predating me by quite a bit.
Yeah. So last year we actually had some data on board this car, and it was really fun to watch him kind of hustling this thing around. Wow! Big slide through.
I heard
turn
that
one
one through the headphones.
Big moment up on the rumbles at corner exit, gives the point by to the car behind him. But man, it is so fun to watch people take cars that like shouldn't do this, and then they go out and do that. You know, like this.
I mean, he's got the assistance of a massive, massive splitter on the nose and a big wing on the back, so that's helping. But yeah, that car should not be on track with a bunch of Honda Fits and Miatas and whatnot. And here's another one that's one of the older ones, in the field, number 313 Corvette. Let's see, I don't have a note on him, but
yeah, probably in the other part of the list here.
That's definitely 80s.
It certainly is C4 generation Corvette, and I can probably pull up.
We've got a Cutlass, just got passed by a Gutless, if you will, Corvette.
Zach Moore is behind the wheel of that. It's a 1996 Corvette, on my mistake there. Street modified. He's out of Heartland, Wisconsin. Because that's what you do in Wisconsin. You build a Corvette from 1996.
Look at ASM building race cars.
Yeah.
That's what you do in Wisconsin.
I just love these old cars because, the old cars drive fundamentally different. Because materials and the chassis design and all that stuff, you can just tell it's dated, and you can put coilovers on it and brakes on it, but you can take the car out of the 90s. You can't take the 90s out of the car, right? So they are really fun to watch people kind of wrestle these things around because they don't have the new car technology in terms of the chassis design and the stiffness in particular.
Well, you and I were talking about cars that we might like to own. And yesterday, just sitting out on the lawn here, and one of the things that I brought up was I would actually love a Catfish Camaro, and you looked at me real weird.
Well, I'm not going to yuck your yum, but people have their favorites, right? And not my particular favorite car, but I would like to see one.
I'm just saying, if there's something I want to put in the garage and just work on randomly when I have the time, it would be a Catfish Camaro, just something in that era, but it still looks kind of cool, and I think now is, we've got the Camaros that we have. It's such a contrast to see. To call that thing a Camaro is weird. It looks a bit more like a Corvette and something else mixed together, and I don't even know what.
Yep, so there's the 41 of Foster Johnson continuing to run just behind this group. Just caught a glimpse of a couple other cars that I wanted to note, and I just lost track of what they were in my brain. Yes, the RX-8 just behind. The RX-8's an interesting car because that's a car that has a Wankel-style engine, a rotary engine. You don't see a lot of those around.
I think you mean Dorito.
Doritos, yes.
Yeah.
They're a whole
Cool
different
Ranch or
engine
nacho
type.
cheese?
Revs to the moon, no torque anywhere except way up top. Got to rev that engine all the way to the moon to get the power out of it, but really unique cars. Shares a lot, actually, with this NC generation MX-5 that you saw, the orange car. They share a lot of underpinnings, and you can actually essentially trade a lot of suspension components right out. And a lot of people do that for the NC generation Miata because the RX-8 is essentially the same car, but they had beefed up components in the suspension because it's just a larger, heavier car. So if you take the same pieces and put them on the NC MX-5, you make a stronger car. And that was actually what the Global MX-5 series did back when they ran the NC generation car. They used essentially the RX-8 components on those cars to make them stronger. Really interesting story. That was, I think, when Ford owned Mazda, they were doing a lot of simplification, and that ended up being probably a good thing so that you can kind of share parts across platforms.
It is always a good thing when you can have more than just one car you're looking for in the junkyard or wherever to pull parts from. So, and of course now you can hit some curbs a little harder.
Yep.
Well,
maybe.
Well,
not here. The curbs here the exit curbs.
They are huge.
They are gnarly. The apex curbs are pretty smooth. You can get up on them. They don't have rippling in them. But the exit curbs, they will shake your teeth out here. They're big and deep and real. They're like Road America. I mean, they will definitely send you for a loop.
On that note of cars we were talking about that we might like to own, I just saw an older Evo go on by with that group. I didn't catch the numbers. I'm not sure who that was, but anytime I see an Evo, my eyes perk up a little bit. I like to see them.
Yeah, Evos are great cars. We were talking with Hard Times Charlie last night, Charlie Enslin from our Grid Life operations lead, about Evo versus STI, and that's the age-old fight. And actually, we're going to put a poll in the YouTube side right now. I need to figure out how to do polls on Twitch, too. But
was that Barbarous maybe in the 63?
Luca maybe. Yes, that could be.
I mean, he's got a top 10 time down on 138.798 in his 2006 Lancer Evolution 9.
Yes. So I'm going to post that poll in the YouTube chat for Evo or STI and let people go and fight amongst themselves over that. That'll be real fun.
Myself.
But that's the age-old fight. Quick update on timing and scoring here. Looks like Jerry Liu in the 2.26 for PhD Racing just ran a 37.4 in that street-modified Toyota Supra. Solid lap there. And Alan Ma up to third overall at 136.139. Exceptionally long sessions here because of the combined run groups. And that means we should expect a checkered flag here the next couple of minutes before we take a very short break. We'll be back for drift. We have just under 15 drift drivers here with us this weekend. Should be fun. It'll be myself and Andrew commentating that. That'll be a real interesting experience. If you want to watch me flounder and suck at something for once, that'll be the thing to watch. So that'll be real interesting here in just a little bit.
Don't worry, you aren't the only rookie to drift commentating. That's going to be a lot of fun. I'm excited to see cars go sideways when they mean to go sideways, as opposed to going sideways and being expensive. It looks like the other Supra is out there, done with his run.
The yellow one?
Yeah.
That's Jerry Liu with the 2.26.
Fourth place.
Up to fourth, yeah. There's that NC MX-5, top down. Living life on a Saturday. Got a roll bar in it, so he's good.
I mean, the ND looks fantastic, the new one's the current MX-5s, but I'm still very partial to the look of the NC. You can't tell me that's not a good-looking car.
I won't tell you that. I bet you there are people that will. But again, the NC, all the generations of Miata, just the classic roadster that has been in production since 1990, and it just has been a staple of track day communities, autocross, and racing for decades now, and it will continue to be, especially with the ND generation Miata, which is a spectacular car. You can't buy another 2,200-pound car in North America in 2022. It's just not a thing, but you can if you want a Mazda ND. So great stuff. That's the number 20 car. I think there's a new competitor with us, Dvortson, this weekend. Maybe it's not a new competitor. I've heard that name before. But that is Arthur Dvortson out of Milwaukee. It's an 06 MX-5 running in the Falcon Club TR class. And he's going to head back around, and it's pretty solid lap times. Marone in the 27, up into the top 5, and that's another one of those Falcon Club TR class car. Mario Marone for Team Acuity out of Dayton, Ohio, in a 1992 Honda Civic. There's another classic car, well, I don't want to say classic, because it's definitely the wrong word. Another car that is a staple of track day communities, the Honda Civic, the venerable, very reliable platform that has been a sedan, a coupe, a hatchback, all sorts of combinations. But Honda Civics from 80s till now, we see in every class all the time. Just that is your standard do-it-everything car.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's right there with Miatas, and now S2000s are clearly a favorite here in Grid Life, and FRSs and GR86 and BRZs, yes I know. It's right up there with all of those as just favorites to take to the track.
Becky Burton, by the way, we'll mention her. She's in Falcon Sunday Cup this weekend in that black Mazda 2 that just went out of frame, heading towards turn number 5.
And I'm really excited to see how that Mazda 2, we see a lot of Honda Fits. I'm excited to see how Mazda 2 does up against all of these. I noticed that on the entry list, and I was like, I own a Mazda myself, so interesting to see a Mazda mixed in with a bunch of Hondas.
Yeah, Becky Burton running with the Robertson Racing crew this weekend. She's crushed it in the Mazda 2. And again, Sunday Cup is more than just fits. It's Ford Fiestas, Mini Coopers, Mazda 2s. Toyota Yaris would be a fantastic car.
Yes.
You got a Yaris and you're not here? What are you doing? Get out here, bring that car out. We want to see some of those. I heard Mike Cohn, our pace car driver and one of our operations guys, talking about that. He wants to see Yaris, and I think a Matrix would probably fit pretty well. Yeah. So check the rules, grid.life. Check out the rules, because Sunday Cup is your place to play if you've got something that you don't think is a race car. It probably
What about a Chevy Spark?
Chevy Spark, there's another one.
Yeah, a lot of options.
Yeah, so we actually had a Chevy Cobalt show up a couple of times.
There you go.
So that's definitely a thing.
Now, I just want to say, Kyle, that Evo or SCI vote is going very much one way, and I'm pretty happy about it.
Yeah, I'm going to stop it here just to stop the bleeding at this point. But 61% to 38, Evo to STI, that's what the YouTube chat says. But, well, that's all right. I just want options, right? And without the Evo in production anymore.
Okay.
You really only got one choice.
Really had to go and do it.
I'm just spitting it out there.
One day we can hope. We'll always just keep hoping that it comes back. One day.
So, checkered should be expected shortly here. Again, long sessions kind of spanning multiple groups. There's the number 27 car, Mario Marone, in that Acuity Instruments Falcon Club TR competition. That's an EG Honda Civic. And we've seen a lot of these hatches, and of all the generations of Honda Civic that are not the modern ones. So, you know, anything prior to 2000, the 8th gen, I'll say, that is my favorite car, the EG hatchback. Big fan of Eric Cattill's EG that he's hopefully rebuilding for GLTC. He's building a sedan right now, an EG sedan. But something about the hatchback and the coupe in particular just really looks good. I just like this car, the proportions it's got. And Evan Weeder is also another Club TR competitor in a very similar looking car for the Acuity team. So it's just another one of those cars that you'll see a lot of, lightweight and simple, and just building blocks for things.
And it does just have something to it. I think you're right. It's got a bit of charm to it. It's just a good-looking car. I have to agree with you. It looks like we're wrapping up that group and getting them off track, getting these guys ready for
action. So this next group is HPDE. So what that means is we're going to take a very short break, take a breather, and we'll be back for Drift here shortly. If you're curious about Drift briefly, let's just run through who we got for Drift this weekend. We've got Jonathan Johnson. We've got Ross Budasov, Dmitry Chibanenko. Yeah. Pete Collins is here. Richard Hickson, Ben Hogan, Artsium. Wow, again. I'm not going to try that one. Artisan from Smotra Chicago is here. Stevie Stowak, Christian Umanik, Joe Webb, Justin Winbigler, Colin Zielinski, your drifters. No pros here this weekend, just bros hanging out. We'll see you in a couple minutes for our Drift show, our first of the weekend. We'll see you there. Coverage of Grid Life Chicago is brought to you by Momo, made in Italy since 1964. And by FCP Euro. Every part you buy is guaranteed for life. And by eBay Motors. Let's ride. And by Falcon Tires. The Falcon Azenas RT660 is the official tire of Club TR.
At 303, we're always chasing perfection. Protect your ride with graphene nanospray coating. Now, boost protection, shine, and slickness with Graphene Detailer. Level up your detailing game. Harness the power of graphene with 303.
Ooh. Call Logano. Hey, Joey, you can save money if you fill up at Shell if you use Advanced Auto Parts Speed Perks.
Dude, I'm way ahead of you.
You saved at the pump?
Yeah, I saved at the pump.
The pump?
The pump.
You saved at the pump!
Woo! Now you can save at the pump when you shop at Advance Auto Parts. Learn more at advanceautoparts.com/gas rewards.
Now, it's my turn.
The more power you have, the more grip you have, the more you push the limits, the more stopping power you need. Get race-proven technology. Hawk Performance.
We still on this weekend for a little...
I'm in desperate need of some...
What about you, Jim?
No, my sister's getting... the wedding. She's getting married, so...
When adventure calls, make sure you're ready to answer. Stable 360 ethanol treatment is specifically formulated for year-round use, so your engines will be ready when you are. Ready, willing, stable.
We've been powering the American road since before it was paved. Our first breakthrough in motor oil was introducing it. And we've been reinventing it ever since. From the world's first high-mileage oil to the world's first synthetic blend. There are those who change with the times, and those who drive them. Valvoline, the original motor oil.
Grid Life Drift at Autobahn Country Club. Just weeks after the Grid Life Midwest Festival at Gingerman Raceway, we go drifting again at Autobahn Country Club in Joliet, Illinois. Hi, everybody. Kyle Heyer, joined by Andrew Cardinale IV for something different today. I'm typically not the one you hear when you're watching Drift on Grid Life weekends, but glad to give it a try. It's a relatively small drift field here this weekend, but drivers are going to get plenty of track time, plenty of opportunity to go for some skids, especially in the first sector here, the first couple of corners, 1 through 5. Great drifting opportunities here. Long, flat corners, Andrew. Going to chuck these cars in. You do the Mondi down the front straightaway, chuck it out sideways. There's Pete Collins into turn 1. Going to throw the car sideways. Here he goes. Wheel spinning. Front tires locked up on corner entry, then throttle up and slide on through. And again, drivers just getting warmed up here the first couple laps. This is their first time through at speed. But again, a little bit of a tricky track to drift on the backside, but certainly the front side here, lots of sideways and smoke. And Pete Collins leading the way down towards turn 4.
And Colin's giving us a smoke show there through turn 3. I mean, that was a proper smoke screen as they head down the hill to turn 4. I'm excited to see how these guys do. This is not a conventional drift course whatsoever. It's a bit more technical. It's got some almost blocked off corners that look more like angles you would see in geometry class than you would see on a racetrack. But I'm excited to see how they are able to link these together, especially because we don't have to worry about clipping points or anything like that, but just how they put these corners together, especially with the long straightaways on the backside of the course. That's a little bit unconventional for drifting.
Yeah, again, we're not competing here. There's no competition, no scoring. It's just here for fun. And what that means is that drivers can enter in with no expectations, right? In an event like Midwest, it's difficult to get into Midwest. We got so many pros on the racetrack, but this weekend, just so much track time here and getting set up. Here is another one of our competitors getting set up for a slide and going for it off into turn 1 and just getting the car set for this long right-hander 1 and 2 all together.
Beautiful stuff. Right out to the curbing.
Woo.
Brings it right back down to the inside of 2 almost, holding that angle into 3.
Colin Zielinski here going for a slide through 3 and up onto the straightaway up to turn 4. A little bit of a manji there. And some drivers will probably drift turn 4. I'm not sure. I think most will probably just do that 1 through 3 complex, but a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, there's some bumps in 4 and 5 that I think are going to be a little bit interesting to try and drift through, so I don't blame them. But, oh, another one.
Love the over fenders
shot
on this car. Look at that, the meaty rear tires it's got on it.
Not as much smoke, but that's some beautiful drifting.
Woo, kicking up some dirt by the eBay Motors signs there. BMW, one of several BMWs we've got. We've got an E34 M3. We've got 325 IS. We got a couple Mazda RX-7s in the field, a couple of 240s as well. There's a 350 ZR. That is, I think that's Christian Ermanic out of Hamilton, Ohio, in that yellow Nissan 350. Pete Collins again back to the left at turn 3 in the ASM car, right out to the edge of the curbing and up to the tire wall on the left. And that's got to be quite the ride there to keep that thing tucked to the left.
Right up on that curbing. Oh, he kind of has to bail out of that one. No, off the track between 1 and 2. Good catch. Good catch.
Yeah, again, I think at the apex of 1 and 2, you're going slow enough that you're not really going to go very far off course. The drivers were instructed in the driver's meeting to not rip up the grass here at the beautiful Autobahn Country Club. So if you're going to go off, just go off and commit to it. And here comes that 350 ZR, Christian Ermanic.
Wow, what a start.
Yep, already you can see big understeer there, just trying to get the thing rotated.
You got to go, and that was an eccentric start. The right off pit lane, throw it into a slide now through 3.
Yeah, the whole rear hatch was coming up as he left pit lane. I could smell the rubber already.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, real quick.
Is this your first time seeing drift?
This is my first time seeing any kind of drift in person, yes. Yeah. And this is really, really special.
The smell is what I love. There's the burning rubber all the time. It's really a sensory overload. We have the sessions at GRIDLIFE Midwest a couple weeks ago that we called the Drift Lift sessions. And those were fun because what we do is we send all the drift cars out, and then all the Time Attack and HPD cars, they can go out behind them and watch them drift and bring people with them. And that's a lot of fun. We call those the Drift Lift sessions. None of those here this weekend, but that's one of my favorite things at a GRIDLIFE competition. Here is a BMW 325 IS I mentioned earlier.
Richard Hickson?
Richard Hickson, that's
Auburn, Georgia, another big haul for him. The hauls that some of these guys make for a race in the Midwest, especially this far north, nearly in Chicago, to come from the south, like deep in Georgia, like we saw, what was it? I forget his name now. Fez, I want to say?
Yeah, well, yeah, Fez from Texas.
Oh, the other one. Georgia.
Oh, the other one. The other Fez Dar.
Yes,
Dar.
Yes. From Time Attack. From Kathleen, Georgia, I know I saw, what was it, Lavoie with the haul from Texas?
I know Fez Bobber comes from Texas. Lavoie's out of Alabama.
Alabama, that's what it was. Birmingham, Alabama.
Wow, look at Pete Collins. Wow. So much smoke from his M3 going for big slide through 1 and 2. Back to the left. You could hear him skidding sideways from across the way. Wow. It's just so fun. The car control that Pete's got. And ASM is, as much as they wheel-to-wheel race and they time attack.
He just drifted 4.
Yeah, man, that's a impressed corner. But he's still drifting 4. Tons of angle. Gathers it back up. He told us he didn't want to roast his tires on the side of the track we weren't going to be watching him on. So he's focusing all on this side. But again, ASM, they got a lot of wheel-to-wheel racing experience and time attack experience. But between Pete Collins and Robert Thorne, who currently is competing in Formula Drift, they're beginning to build a bit of a recognition in the drift world. And Pete out here having some fun right out to the edge of the road. Yeah, that's not something you want to. You don't want to drop your tire right at the exit of the corner and drop it in.
Especially when the walls narrow together there. That's the one place you don't really want to be sideways.
Kind of the chute there is what I call that between 4 and 5, right by the Valvoline signs. But the smell. Some people love it, some people hate it, but for me, the smell of burning rubber, it's real good. After wheel sessions, the smell breaks a lot of the times on pit lane, but here it's the rubber and just vaporizing your tires.
You know, I go to a lot of NASCAR races. It's like the same smell as you get during a burnout after somebody wins. And,
it's a burnout.
Burns it down.
80 miles an hour.
It is, right. It's that same kind of smell that's sustained through a whole session as opposed to just after 300 laps or something. So that's kind of cool as well, being able to, have that kind of real petrol head smell, if you will.
Yeah, again, with only a handful of cars on track, that means lots of open time for drivers to go for a big slide. Richard Hickson again down towards turn 1. Big Scandinavian flick over there to the right, back to the left, hanging it out sideways. Not a ton of smoke, but getting some angle on it. Can't see out the quarter windows with all the stickers there, but just chucking it around. I don't think this car has quite enough power to completely do that whole for 1-2 complex without kind of resetting up. I don't think he can get the thing kicked up and get the tires spinning to keep that same angle around the whole corner. You really
going for that Jeremy Clarkson just power slide through the corner, just trying to hold it.
Again, how much power you have at the grip level you have, you're going to want more power just to make sure that you can keep that loss of rear grip, but keep the rear end hooked at that angle. If you don't have enough power, and you can't keep the tires spinning at 80 miles an hour, you're going to have to reset yourself back up and go again. But
how about these drone shots, though?
Oh,
beautiful stuff.
Great drone shots. Look, there's some creek back here we're checking out. Do the tunnel. No, he's not going to do the tunnel. We'll lose a drone down there and never see it again.
We was talking about yesterday how we put it into somebody's wastegate one time and it came shooting out the other end. There we go. Turn 1 once again.
Great angle on entry here.
Do we have a name on this one?
It's one of the 240 SXs. I don't know if it's not Zielinski. It might be Ross. No, it's not Budasov either.
Oh, he's off in 3.
Oh, and around he goes. Look out. That was a little tight there.
Bit of a unique angle even for drifting. That was something.
Process of elimination tells me that's Stevie Stewak in that
car.
And
he just
losing
that
a bumper
car ahead of him. Yeah, he's losing his bumper.
Oh, bumpers losing is common.
I know.
Everyone loses their bumpers. That's why some guys just start without them. That's a pretty effective way to not lose a bumper, is to not have one to begin with.
Get yourself closer to the apex curb. But yeah, he's definitely hit. I would imagine some curbs at some point, maybe even some grass.
Yeah, the grass will do that too. And again, at Midwest, you'll see bumpers tumbling in the runoff area, and that's it's not going to slow
going
down.
for it.
Oh yeah. You won't stop going for it until your engine falls out of the car. It's this one of those scenarios where these cars are, while they're very pretty, they're meant to come apart and meant to kind of stick that thing back on, whether they've got a quick disconnect or they're going to just duct tape it on later. That's the drift way.
So do we think that's Ross Budasov?
No,
or maybe
I think it's Stevie
Stewak.
Okay. I think Ross Budasov's got a livery on his car. And again, I'm working on my name and car recognition, so if anyone wants to help us out, that'd be sweet.
Yeah, by all means.
Hickson again through 3. Getting some angle. Is it too much? No, it is not. He gathers it back.
Smoke that time.
Yeah. And again, this is not a super drift-friendly track from the perspective of there's not a lot of slow corners. A slower corner that has a long sweeping but slow corner is probably the best. You start getting into the faster and faster corners, and your horsepower level has to continue to go up to make sure that you can maintain that angle the whole time.
Pete Collins in the pit lane.
Yeah, changing tires out. He told me he can get 2 laps out of a set of tires. So that's called efficiency.
He went for what? 2 or 3? I thought he went for 3.
2 or 3, yeah. You can burn them all the way to the ground. You're not going to use them again, so you might as well rip whatever rubber you got left off. But again,
and he's heading back out.
And I hear a motor. There's one sliding there.
And that was the loudest car to run through Tech last night.
Yeah, I believe this is Budasov here. Through turns 1 and 2.
That is a beauty.
It really is good looking, the purple metallic, and well stitched together 1 through 3. And being able to maintain just one continuous line and swing the rear from side to side, that is really where the talent comes into play. And
yeah, Zielinski's getting it. That was a good run through 1 through 3, like you said.
It really was. And here's Pete Collins, back on track again. He's starting with, he's got a bumper, but real tiny. It's mounted pretty high, so he doesn't have to drag it on the ground. But
I like the little bit of spoiler there right on the lip of the trunk. That's a nice little touch, and you can see just right through it. I got to say, going back to Colin Zielinski's wrap from Extreme Graphics, that is a beautiful, beautiful car.
So Budasov is the teal 240 that we saw earlier. Zielinski, I believe, is the purple. Again, this is Pete Collins. I know Pete pretty well. So, again, I haven't really frequented the drift paddock as much as I admittedly should. So that we're working on that little by little. And, again, thanks, everybody, for helping us out here. But Pete working his way around the track to come back into turn 1 and just absolutely send it. And preparing here again, that Scandinavian flick, the Manji down the straightaway to get the car sideways and destabilize it so that you can just hang the rear end out and balance it with throttle. And that's really what you're doing. The steering wheel is just to point the nose of the car. The throttle points the rear.
Drifting is such an art. It is so cool to watch. Just to marvel at these guys. It's just fascinating how they can hold these cars at these angles. And I mean, yes, they've been clipping the grass, but nothing too crazy.
Well, you know, the talent behind it, and again, there's so much technique involved in this and so much commitment that, you know, a lot of these guys will start in parking lots and at drift meets, or they're at oval tracks with big paved interiors, and working up to circuit drift. Again, there is no restriction on where you can drift on this track. Yeah. You can drift anywhere on course, and that's the cool thing about GRIDLIFE Drift is we're not necessarily relegating it to a paddock of a racetrack or a parking lot or something like that. You can drift the full course. Now, think back a couple years ago to Road Atlanta. We were drifting the S's at Road Atlanta. That's crazy. You ever seen the S's at Road Atlanta? They're nuts. It's like falling off a cliff.
And they've got that keyhole through right out of turn 10.
Great spectating spot. Yeah, totally. So, I mean, again, full course drift is always super fun. I think a lot of the drivers were going to focus on 1 through 3. Yeah, spectators watching the fence. Here they go again. And 1, 2, 3 all in a line. You can see the whole rear of the car rumble as he gets the curbing on corner exit. Here's Pete sliding into shot. Big
and I was over in turn 1 yesterday just hanging out for a little bit, watching these guys get track day experience. And that is a wonderful place to watch some action from. And where the cafe that Autobahn has here right over there in turn 1, it's really central to, they've got the kart track. It's central to both the North and South circuits. The South circuit we're on here today. A beautiful place to watch some racing.
Yeah, absolutely. And again,
or drifting.
Yeah, and the spectators line up for the drifting because it's just, it's a spectacle. It doesn't matter who's winning because there's no scoring.
I saw one guy with a camera back there. Perfect for getting pictures too, especially with Pete Collins sending it through turns 1 and 2. A beautiful place to get some pictures from.
Yeah, Pete really is the one that's got the most smoke right now. And again, full course drift anywhere. There they go again on the far back side of the track. And some of these are a little tricky because they're kind of just kinked corners. There's not a lot of room.
Fast too.
Yeah. I mean, you can get the speed going.
Oh, he's got a side skirt hanging off.
I bet he does. Oh,
look at that.
It's like a one of those road graders that's got the big just grading the road here at Autobahn Country Club. Knocked the bump out of turn 5, but
hey, if it's working for him, it's working for him. There's Zelensky.
I think that's Zelensky. Yes.
Yeah, that is you see extreme graphics there on the nose.
Yep.
That is a beautiful car. It was easily the loudest that came through tech, and I think it was the second or third car through. Everybody turned around as soon as he fired that thing up, brought it over. Definitely got a lot of attention last night, and I think is again today. He was one of the smokier ones out here today too. So.
Yep.
Right there with Pete Collins.
Hicks it again out towards turn 1, going back out for another couple slides. And again, I like watching him enter corners because he's got to do so much more to upset the chassis dynamics of that car to get it sideways. He's got soft suspension too. And somebody just left pit lane in a ball of fury, and it's Zelensky right into the shot through turn 1, hanging the rear end out right out to the curb.
Beautiful. Like I said, the loudest car here that is here.
Yeah, it is loud. And then sweep right back to the left. Whoa, a little drone strike on the ground there that time through. Touch and go for the drone.
And he went inverted. I gotta say, the drone part we have here is impressive.
Yeah, he's just absolutely crushes it every single time. We sometimes have several of them. Collins again, I can't even see Pete. He's putting up so much smoke. Look at that. All the way out. That tire wall, they just drive right at it. And I've gotten a chance to ride in some drift cars too, and just for context, you know, you're riding along, and all of a sudden you're pointed at the wall, and you're going, there's no way we're going to make this. And then you swing right back to the left, right back to the right, and you miss it, and it's the best.
Oh, we went for 5. I'm impressed by that one.
Yeah.
But you know what? When you're in there, when you're drifting, you're not looking at the wall. You're looking down the racetrack. Just like with racing, you go where your eyes go. So you got to keep your eyes down the track and stay focused on where you're going. And clearly, Pete's doing a good job. I'm impressed that he just did 5. Now he's doing 6.
Wow.
I'm impressed. Those are some fast corners.
Yeah, that is a little tricky to do, again, because 6 is kind of a kink.
Yeah.
So there's not really a lot of radius to play with there.
Yep,
as soon as you get the car sideways, you got to collect the balance before you end up in the fence there. So fans lined up along the fence here at Autobahn Country Club as a couple cars head back to the paddock.
That side skirt hanging off.
Yeah, that'll just be a little quick little pop rivet and get that thing back in place. Collins again. So much
out
smoke.
Of 10?
I think so. On the backside of the track, certainly.
Wow. I'm very impressed.
There's just some people that are real fun to watch, and Pete Collins is one of them. And he was not really sure if he wanted to show up to this event. He's like, hey, what's it look like? I'm thinking about coming. I was like, you just show up and put on a show, and that's what he's doing today.
Oh, yeah. He's stealing the show 100%. The Zelensky is there with him, but you know what? you talked about how you like what Richard Hickson is doing with his car, and I do too. You see a lot of those BMW 325i's or similar used in endurance racing, amateur endurance racing. I'm thinking of, Champ Car, for example. You see a lot of those cars used in those races, and I'm sure we get some here that cross-pollinate over to Grid Life. I would never, ever imagine that car to go drifting.
Yeah, I mean, there's some cars. You saw the Cutlass in Time Attack. That's not a car you'd expect to be Time Attack.
Fair enough.
Here's a newer version.
I also wouldn't expect an RX-7 to go drifting, to be honest.
No, I mean, again, we'll see a couple of those. Again, RX-7s are really pretty, so if it's a really pretty one, you might want to tear it apart, wide body it, and do whatever. But yeah, looking good. Actually, I don't think that's a drift car. I think that's queuing up for our next HPDE session. That's what it is. So cars
do have two of them on the list. I don't think we saw them in this one. Jonathan Johnson in a 94 RX-7 and Joe Webb with an 87 RX-7 we might see later.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think the car that's lined up on pit exit is an HPDE car. I think they're just getting ready for their next sessions. Again, just so that you're in touch with what's going on in the next half hour or so, we're going to take another very short break after the drift session, and then we'll head straight into GLTC Race 1 pre-race at 3:30 p.m. Central Time. Ooh, big slide. Gathers it up. Didn't quite carry it on exit as much as we've seen others do. Gathered it back up and straightened it out before he got to turn 4. But again, 3:30 is going to be our GLTC pre-race coverage, and that will be followed by more track battle Time Attack, and then we'll have some more drift a little bit later today. Then we're going to go dark for a couple hours while we prepare for our second broadcast, which will be a much shorter one later tonight. Around 7 o'clock, we're going to do track battle, and then we'll have our second GLTC race. So make sure you're tuned in for that. So drift, first session looks like it's out of the way.
Down, yeah.
And they're going to get set up for HPD here shortly. So, with drift drivers essentially completed, we're going to head out and we'll take a very short break again. 3:30 p.m. Central Time, 4:30 Eastern. We'll be back for race number 1 in Grid Life Touring Cup. Pre-race coverage up next. Coverage of Grid Life Chicago is brought to you by Momo. Made in Italy since 1964. FCP Euro. Every part you buy is guaranteed for life. eBay Motors. Let's ride. And by Falcon Tires. The Falcon Azenas RT660 is the official tire of Club TR.
At 3:03, we're always chasing perfection. Protect your ride with graphene nanospray coating. Now, boost protection, shine, and slickness with Graphene Detailer. Level up your detailing game. Harness the power of graphene with 303.
Ooh. Call Logano. Hey, Joey, you can save money if you fill up at Shell if you use Advanced Auto Parts Speed Perks.
Dude, I'm way ahead of you.
You saved at the pump?
Yeah, I saved at the pump.
The pump?
The pump.
You saved at the pump! Woo!
Now you can save at the pump when you shop at Advance Auto Parts. Learn more at advanceautoparts.com/gas rewards.
Now, it's my turn.
The more power you have, the more grip you have, the more you push the limits, the more stopping power you need. Get race-proven technology. Hawk Performance.
Hey, we still on this weekend for a little...
You know it. I'm in desperate need of some...
What about you, Jim?
No, my sister's getting... Yeah, dun, da, da. The wedding. She's getting married, so...
When adventure calls, make sure you're ready to answer. Stable 360 ethanol treatment is specifically formulated for year-round use, so your engines will be ready when you are. Ready, willing, stable.
We've been powering the American road since before it was paved. Our first breakthrough in motor oil was introducing it. And we've been reinventing it ever since. From the world's first high-mileage oil to the world's first synthetic blend. There are those who change with the times, and those who drive them. Valvoline, the original motor oil.
flies, and we're racing.
Hightower pushes Jensen along the exit of turn number 4. This win, it's
big fly! It's time to go racing at GRIDLIFE Midwest. Hill side by side. O'Gorman around the outside now for the top spot. Tom O'Gorman goes to the lead. 3 wide for the lead.
This is great racing, folks. This is what this series is all about.
The realm of competitive grassroots racing is alive and well. GRIDLIFE Touring Cup has exploded in popularity in the Midwest and across the country, offering sprint racing in a single class and a simple rule set. Power, weight, and tire size are the 3 big variables that each competitor can adjust to build their dream race car and race it against some of the best grassroots racers in the country. This is GRIDLIFE Touring Cup, GLTC, from GRIDLIFE Chicago at Autobahn Country Club. Pre-race coverage for our short sprint race at the top of the hour. Hi, everybody. Kyle Heyer, joined by Andrew Cardinale IV. Andrew, welcome aboard. Getting prepped for our first GLTC race in about 25 minutes, but going to talk about what's coming up because this is a big, big race. Race 1 at Autobahn Country Club.
Yeah, happy to be here. Thanks for having me around, Kyle, and everybody else. I'm excited. This is my first, like some viewers we'll probably have today, this is 100% my first experience with GLTC, aside from qualifying earlier today. But there's so much to talk about. We saw that in qualifying. We saw a lot go on. A lot of drivers, I think, be surprised a little bit by the track conditions, and a lot of drivers coming to their own at the back end of the qualifying session. So we've got a lot to talk about based on that, a lot to talk about just with the points standings and everybody else's results throughout the season so far. I think there's really a lot for us to talk about even before this race gets going. And once the race gets going, it's the first race of 4 on the weekend. So we're slated for a big weekend here in Chicago.
Really excited for it. Let's have a look at our track map here. Again, 15 turns, around 2.1 miles of race course here at Autobahn Country Club. Joliet, Illinois, just outside of Chicago. 15 turns, and it all starts with a run down towards turn number 1 and into turn number 2. So the bottom right of your screen here, turn 1, right-hander, turn 2, another right, turn 3, left-hand sweeper. Then you shoot through the trees into turn 4, Andrew. A high-paced section of racetrack through 4, 5, and 6.
And that continues even through turn 7. It's really just a kink before you get real hard on those brakes for turn 8, 9, and 10. It's basically the patience zone. In fact, turn 9 even unofficially named patience. So you've got to hold yourself back, especially if you want to get lined up for turn 10 and onto the backstretch. It is oh so crucial, especially if you're setting up either a qualifying lap earlier this morning or a pass by turn 11.
Yeah, turn 11 is another crucial passing opportunity. Turn 12 back to the left. 13, 14, and 15, the last 3 corners on the racetrack, and it all ends with that slight left kink back onto the front straightaway. Earlier this morning, track was wet when we qualified, but it is a little bit dried out now. Matt DeRoos should be on pit lane now with Adam Jabay here shortly, and to talk about how this series came to be. Again, Adam Jabay, one of the co-founders of GRIDLIFE, really excited to bring you that coverage here. Matt DeRoos is down on pit lane with Adam Jabay.
On the grid, waiting for the GLTC cars to roll in, and at HPD. Hey, Scott, can we, Scott Robertson, can we have a little chat here? Qualifying was a little wet, had a little excitement there in the beginning, but how did it go for you?
It was good. I mean, I like driving in the wet conditions. It's fun. Yeah, just tried to find the grip wherever we could, and it worked out all right for us. So very different conditions for race 1, and we'll, I don't know, we'll see how it goes.
Do you know what position you started in?
5, P5.
Okay. Yeah, I was watching the times as they were trickling in, and a little quicker, but yeah, once you settled into there, yeah, it seemed like that's where you're going to rest.
And of course, I got to follow Tom on the cool down lap and immediately saw where more time was. So, yeah. But yeah, it was good. Yeah. I think our best qualifying yet. So good. It was good.
Yeah, glad to see it dried up, and hopefully it stays this way and we don't get any more wetness and guys have a little fun in the dry.
I wouldn't mind seeing some rain later on.
Well, it looks like we have some more cars rolling in for HPD. I believe this is our beginner group, and then hopefully get some GLTC action here pretty soon.
Thanks, Matt. And again, that was a little surprising. Scott Robertson, we talked about him in qualifying because he qualified 5th in the rain, and you saw how excited he was to be 5th in the rain. I mean, and he wants more rain. I think Scott Robertson, really, really talented. He's got that NB Miata, the number 213 for Robertson Racing. So he's in a really good spot, I think, to start this weekend off. And qualifying is such an important session. And for Scott to get that P5, that's going to translate to the rest of the weekend as well.
And getting back to form, really, if you look back at the AMP results, he was 9th, 10th, 6th, and 8th. So round 4 at Midwest was a bit of just an off weekend for him, it seems, and getting back to his form with that qualifying effort of P5. In fact, that's better than any of his finishes so far this season. So a really cool start to the weekend for Scott, and hopefully it continues into big things. Hopefully it snowballs in the right way, and he can move up that running order, maybe even with some fast laps here in race 1 to set up for race 2.
Yeah, so again, our qualifying order we'll go over a little bit later as well, but I want to talk about some of the storylines coming into this event. You have to look at the standings and look at a guy like Andy Smedegaard and Tom O'Gorman, the ASM crew, that are leading the standings coming into the weekend. 72 points, 71 points for Andy and Tom. And right behind them is Paul Curley with 65. Curley not here. Swenson, though, with 64 points, is right behind in 4th. Then another ASM car, actually 2 more, Matt Waldbaum and Zach Lavoie. At a 3rd there, Robert Thorne, who is not here this weekend. But if you look at the points, 4 of the top 6 and 5 of the top 7 are all ASM-related cars. So you have to look at that team and say, that's the team that I'm expecting to perform really, really well here this weekend. But again, Jeremy Swenson and that Viking Performance Corvette, our reigning champion in the 2002 Chevrolet Corvette, the big purple people eater. That thing is ready to go to town here this weekend.
And talking about points, especially our 2 leaders, Smedegaard and O'Gorman separated by 1 point in the standings, and they're also separated by 0.1 average finish. Smedegaard at 7.3 and O'Gorman at 7.4. They're very close. The results have been almost equal. In fact, at Midwest, they each had a 51st place finish. I believe it was Smedegaard in race 2, or was it O'Gorman? Either way, they each had a 51st place finish. They traded off one race after the other, and otherwise have been nearly identical this season. Both of them up there on top of the standings, and just waiting to see which one of them is able to pull away first. I guess it might happen here today.
You know, it's pretty shocking if you looked at some of their races this year. Andy Smedegaard and Tom O'Gorman. Looking back at AMP, they basically traded 1st and 2nd. Tom had a singular 3rd. That was his worst finish at AMP. NCM, very, very similar results there. You mentioned Midwest. Both had car failures at some point in the weekend. They both rebounded from it to get top 5s in the last race. But back to COTA, that was the other weekend that kind of stung for them. A 27th for Andy, a 22nd for Tom, with some other related issues there. So those were some problems that have kind of maybe pulled away them maximizing their points this year. And again, the point standings, how this works is you take your top 5 rounds plus the finale at Heartland. So all the other rounds that they're going to run this season will get dropped. Their worst rounds will get dropped. And I think the problem that these guys are going to have is that if they drop Midwest because of their 51st, they're going to drop the wins that came with it. So there's a lot of just, frustration that'll probably happen. Their worst weekends are going to include some of their big point wins as well.
You saw for a moment there the kart track here at Autobahn. There's also the North Course that's been having action going on today. It really is a versatile facility here. But back to the points, I'm also looking at somebody by the name of Zach Lavoie. He's made all 4 rounds so far this season, and he sticks out to me because he's one of the lower drivers to have made all 4 rounds, if not the not the lowest. I see West Case further down, but he's very much an anomaly. He's at the top 10. The only other driver with a double digit before the decimal average finish is 9th place Micaiah Hackbarth, who's only made 3 rounds, missed Midwest. So to see Zach Lavoie up there, that's consistency, right? He's got some pretty decent results. He's consistently around that top 10, if not breaking into the top 10, even a podium at the last race at AMP. But he's here realistically in the points because he's made every round, and I think that really speaks volumes as to what these teams are able to do. Yes, it takes a lot to go fast, but it also takes a lot to turn around and make every single one of these rounds, especially all across the country.
Certainly. Having a look at our qualifying results, again, we're going to show the starting grid to you later as we roll off of the grid and onto the pace laps, but just to kind of go through some of the results that you mentioned, we talked about Scott Robertson in 5th, but how about Jeff Preston up in 8th? That's a really strong run for the number 47 from Miata Hubs, that race team. Matan Rosenberg, who ran 6th at Midwest Race 4, he runs 11th in qualifying. Paul Darling, 16th. Some surprises, though. Micaiah Hackbarth all the way back in 21st. Eric Jensen, 25th. The slippery conditions were a real challenge for some of our drivers that we typically see in the top 10.
Yeah, when you talk about those lap times that are further down in the field, I mean, Jensen put down, a 2:19.1. West Case with a 2:22.4. Some really odd lap times back there because of the wet. So if you were to just look at that with no context as to the qualifying session we had, just looking at the qualifying results is really bizarre almost. A 1:53 leading the session and nearly a 2:30 at the back end. So that definitely had a big impact, of course, on qualifying. Will have an impact all the way through the weekend because there we go, VTEC, yo. But seriously, that qualifying session, as you said earlier, is going to be so important to how the rest of all the dominoes fall into place. Of course, race 1 set by qualifying times, race 2 set by fastest lap times in race 1. Actually, go ahead and go through that because I'm sure I'm new here to Grid Life. Yeah. I've listened to what you've said so far this weekend, but I'm sure there's a lot of others out there that maybe are new, especially for this weekend, and I'm sure could use that help.
So just for context again on what we're doing, again, we're preparing for our first race at 3:55. The cars you're looking at right now are part of our high-performance drivers education event here this weekend. Again, our GLTC cars are not quite yet to the grid, but GLTC is a power-to-weight-based road racing series that runs very short sprint races in a single class. So if you're used to watching IMSA, where it's multi-class, this is all one class. This is all of our DPIs, for example, in one category. Cars are balanced to roughly 12.5 pounds per horsepower, so you get cars that are in the 180 to 250 wheel horsepower range, but how we balance them is by weight and by tire size. So if you're running a heavier car, you can run more power and you can run a wider tire. And there's a lot of different modulation you can do in that range. But throughout the weekend, we race 4 times for about 12 to 20 minutes, depending on the day. And yes, we can decide. We have the ability to throw the white flag a little early, throw the white flag a little late. That's part of the beauty of GLTC. But the 4 races are as follows. They're gridded by qualifying. Race 2 is gridded by fastest lap from race 1. Race 3 is gridded by finishing order from race 2. And race 4 is finishing order from race 3 with a random invert of a top number of drivers in the field, typically up to about 15th place. So we get really interesting races in race 4 because you can put a guy that was 13th, put him up front, and say, go hang on to that spot for 12 minutes, see if you can hang on. And it is really, really fun to watch. So that is what we're going to be doing. Race 2 will be later tonight, just after 7:30 p.m. Central. Again, about 10 minutes until we turn cars loose for our first GLTC race of the weekend. We also have some special pace cars here this weekend. We hold pace car competitions on our Instagram, so you can submit your car as a potential pace car, and if you're selected by our pace car driver and our internal staff, then you bring your car out. The pace car for race number 1 will be a 1990 Mazda Unos Cosmo from Alex Mbashiri out of Chicago, Illinois. A really unique car when you see it. That's going to be our pace car for race 1. A Datsun 240 from Mark Drippy Smith out of Arcola, Illinois. That will be race 2. A Safari stanced Porsche 911 for race 3. That's John Lynn. And that car is lifted and on what I could only describe as off-road tires on that car. And then race 4 tomorrow afternoon will be a 2013 Honda CRZ Supercharged. So that'll be a real fun car to watch as well. The cars on track to an HPD. Again, GLTC race 1 coming up at 3:55 p.m. I'm Kyle Heyer, joined by Andrew Cardinale IV. Again, our wheel-to-wheel racing will kick off in just over 10 minutes, so you haven't missed it. And 4 races throughout the weekend that we will go racing this weekend. So again, Autobahn Country Club, Joliet, Illinois, just outside of Chicago, Andrew, and we're coming off of such a hot weekend of racing at Grid Life Midwest. Record-breaking field size. Try 57 cars at Midwest.
Yeah, these fields that have been breaking these records for Grid Life lately are really cool to see. And being here for my first time, especially being, well, not just at Grid Life for my first time, but being at Autobahn. I'm used to the tracks in the South, like VIR and some of those at Road Atlanta. They're all beautiful. I wasn't expecting the beauty here at Autobahn. This is a beautiful facility. Glad we're here. Glad Grid Life is back this year at Autobahn. I know they were last year as well. Really cool to see a track like this. And it's interesting not being able to see the back side of the course from here in the paddock, but to have that wall of trees back there by turn 4 is still pretty nice.
Yeah, again, this is a really unique racetrack because it's relatively new, built in 2004. So it's a new facility constructed as a country club style model. And this land that this track is on is incredibly flat, so there's really not a lot or any elevation change throughout the lap. It is bumpy in places, though. That is a big challenge that drivers have been fighting all weekend long. It collects rainwater in some places, so when it gets wet, it gets really fun to watch. But for the rest of the track, it's just fast and flowing. It has a really good flow. It races extremely, extremely well. So all these things add up to a fantastic weekend of GLTC racing. Speaking of GLTC, this car used to be a GLTC car. That car out on track for HPDE at one point was owned by the Myriad Motorsports crew, who has since jumped ship to S2000s, as many have, for our GridLife Touring Cup category. Again, if you've never heard of GridLife Touring Cup, you should check out the rule set on grid.life. You can head to grid.life and learn a lot more about our rule sets and the kinds of competition we offer. We have wheel-to-wheel racing, track battle, time attack, so that's everyone going for track records in one of 7 different classes. And then we've got drift as well at select events, this one included. So if you're a drifter, we've got a place for you.
That's what those skid marks are.
Yes.
Turn 3.
Yeah, that wasn't anyone getting, okay.
It's been a few cars getting that sideways, but not many.
Excellent comedic timing by that, by the way.
The Evo that won our vote earlier just had to go in and show us up.
Yeah, again, it's really easy to get off track here, especially at corner exit of that third turn. If you can get the curbing, it'll send you around for a loop. That curbing is extremely rough by design to keep you off the grass. And if you go a little bit too wide or you get too much throttle in it at the exit of turn 3, you can find yourself spinning around. So a little issue there. But that's part of the experience, right? You're learning, you're getting opportunity to drive your car on the racetrack. And once you get comfortable, you can move up into the competition classes and time attack, and then into our wheel-to-wheel racing, our GridLife Touring Cup, which has really turned into something truly special the last 3 years. It's a brand new series, opened in 2019. And our average field size last season, 33 cars. So good stuff.
That's up there with NASCAR numbers. That is a big field. And when you look at Formula One, IndyCar, they have 20, 22 car fields usually. NASCAR goes and puts nearly 40 on the racetrack every week. And for a grassroots series like this, to put 33 on the racetrack every single week, sometimes a lot more, sometimes maybe a few less, that is super impressive, especially touring all over the country like this, going to a lot of these grassroots club-level courses. That is something special, and that is something that GridLife is taking a hold of and really doing a lot with it. As you see the Mazda go on by, our Race 1 pace car that we'll see in a little bit. But to have this many cars show up, especially this variety of cars, and this level of effort put into the cars, there are wraps here. There are cars here that look better than some top short track late models, for example. That's what I'm used to usually. Yep. So to see some cars here that are like that and look even better when they're 20 years older sometimes is really, really impressive, really, really special. And again, something that GridLife has done a great job of getting a hold of and really making something big out of. And I know we had a Racer magazine article out recently where you talked about just how special this series is, and if more motorsport fans knew about GridLife, they would be here. They'd be watching these streams, and I think that is entirely true in every aspect. I'm not Greg Kramer. I haven't been around to see everything just yet, but I've seen a lot in my time, and honestly, GridLife has got something very, very special here.
So on pit lane, our GridLife Touring Cup cars beginning to line up, and you'll see some of these shots here. Cars like Nissan 370Zs, Honda S2000s, Chevrolet Corvettes, Mazda Miatas. We've got a huge entry list with lots of different cars and lots of drivers from all over the country. Looking down the list, how about guys like Emil Tabb from Louisville, Kentucky, Ryan Upham from Batavia, Illinois, Felipe Gonzalez from Fargo, North Dakota, Kerry James from Andover, Minnesota. People, teams, drivers from all over the country lining up to go racing here, and you see them beginning to kind of reverse against the Armco here and get prepped for the first race of the weekend. There's Emil Tabb at the number 14 for the winning formula. Getting a good look at the headlights on Matt Waldbaum's ASM S2000. Ryan Upham in the number 13, peeking out from behind in that BMW M3 with a brand new K-Series motor. Under the hood of that car was working out some gremlins at Midwest, but that's part of it. These cars can be developed. You can engine swap. You can drivetrain swap. There's all sorts of cool stuff you can do. Eric Jensen's car has a dog box 4-speed manual like you'd find in a NASCAR Cup car is what he's got in there. You see Matt Waldbaum suiting up to go racing here. So just getting prepped now. This is the moments where the butterflies are fluttering for a lot of the drivers on grid.
Especially for the first race of the weekend, right? You get 1 or 2 races in, things might settle down a little bit, but the first race of the weekend is always going to have those nerves completely shot in the good way. It's exciting to get out on track for the first time. It's really special to any other time. So very cool to see these guys getting in the cars. I'm glad that we've got this roaming pit camera.
Yeah.
This is very, very cool.
Great new addition to the broadcast here. And again, there's the Hard Motorsport decals on the nose of this car. This number 13 is prepped by Performance Euroworks. There are 2 of these cars in the field. Oops, sorry. The other car being Lewis Chatroop. Just stepped on a cable in here. Lewis Chatroop is the other driver that will be competing against with the Performance Euroworks team. There's Ryan sitting in the car and getting prepped there. Matt Waldbaum suiting on and getting his helmet on. But just about 5 minutes until we turn the drivers loose here for our first race of the weekend. So we're getting real close here, Andrew.
And you know what? It's not just the exterior of these cars that are so special. And I will say that the beautiful new GRIDLIFE decals all over them, the series and class decals are fantastic. But it's not just the outside of the cars. The interiors are some of the best looking I've seen in grassroots road racing. You can go to VIR and see a whole, I guess, plethora of different cars, differently prepared and everything on any given weekend. But to see these cars so clean in every way, even the interior, I mean, it is so well done. And there's 9 Lives Racing. That car is one of the exceptions to the rule right now. As we talked about earlier, got a white door and a yellow rear quarter panel on it. So maybe if our roaming pit camera goes over there in a second, we can show you. But that is pieced together. It's almost Frankenstein right now.
It is, and that car was involved in a collision at GRIDLIFE Midwest. But one of the things that the series prides itself on is the lack of contact in here. Yeah. In 3 years of competition and over 100 races, well over 100 races, actually almost 300 at this point. We've done a lot of racing. We have never, I'm knocking on wood if you can't tell, had contact between cars that has led to a car being destroyed. We've had some that have been damaged but repaired, and we've had some people send their own cars off into oblivion and put them in a fence, but we have not had car-to-car contact that's resulted in a car getting totaled ever. So that's something that I don't think there's a single racing series on planet Earth that can claim that right now, unless you're racing karts or something. I mean, that's a hard stat to line up just right. I mean, it's the competitive level that we're racing here, to not run into each other is difficult, and these guys manage to do it week in and week out.
Absolutely. It's been very clear. I mean, the highlights that you see in our intro video, for example, that's all super close racing, but you don't see them beating each other up. So very cool stuff that we've got here in GRIDLIFE. And you saw the spectators in the grandstands here, or at least the bleachers down into Turn 1. And I know there's a lot of them here this weekend, Kyle. There's a lot more than maybe we were expecting. It's very cool to see everybody turning up for these kinds of events. We saw everybody lined up at Gingerman along the fencing in Turns 1, 2, and so on and so forth. It's very cool to see this kind of crowd coming out to these events, because usually this style of event wouldn't really garner much of a spectator audience.
Right.
But GRIDLIFE is doing that. There's big activation here within the series. And, you know, people that are here, or people that aren't here, rather, watching on our stream right now, maybe within the area, can still come on down and tell us how.
Yeah, exactly. You're right. This is, track days and that sort of thing, typically not spectator experiences. There's not really a ton for you to do. Of course, we obviously support, go out and do your grassroots tracks, go watch and participate, but at GRIDLIFE, we've really turned this into something worth watching, and GLTC is a spectacle that you've probably never seen before if you're joining us for the first time. But 15-minute race, real high octane, real intense, and people have shown up to watch. And there's an LED wall over there by Turn 1 that people can watch trackside, and speakers set up and everything. So it's a really neat experience as a fan. And Matt DeRoos is down on pit lane for an interview.
All right, we're here on grid with Austin Hurdle, sitting near the, ahead of mid-pack, but get a few words with him. Hey, Austin, you qualified in the wet, but now it's dry. How does that change your game plan going forward?
It's a lot better for me, really. I showed up this weekend without rain tires, so the tires I got are the tires I'm gonna run, and they do a lot better in the dry. So I'm pretty stoked about it.
All right, yeah, you looked all right off there in the wet, but now going forward in the dry, do you think you can hold these guys off behind you?
We'll see. I hope to hold them off and then hopefully head up towards the front a little bit. So I guess we'll see.
All right, good to hear. Good luck to you today.
Yep, thank you.
All right, yeah, that's Austin Hurdle sitting here. We're going to walk forward here in the grid and see if we can talk to anyone else, but back to you, Kyle.
All right, thanks, Matt. And again, cars about to roll off pit lane, so we probably won't get another opportunity. They're going to turn them loose in 1 minute behind that Mazda Unos Cosmo pace car that Mike Cohn will be driving. Mike Cohn is our pace car driver. He'll be driving that alongside its owner, Alex Mubashiri, who's the owner of that Mazda Unos Cosmo. We'll get a shot of that once they roll off grid, and we'll roll through our starting lineup here shortly. Now, depending on the track conditions and what race control decides, we'll get either 1 or 2 pace laps, Andrew. So we'll have to keep a close eye on the lights on that pace car. I would expect with a smaller, smaller being 35 compared to 57 a few weeks ago, I would expect 1 pace lap. So by the time we get over to the backside of the track, those lights will probably extinguish and we'll get ready to go racing.
You say smaller, but it's still above average.
It is average. We got another field or pit reporter down on pit lane ready for an interview. Go ahead.
Hey, we're here with Jeremy Swenson, starting 3rd on the first race. Hey, Jeremy, you started qualifying in the wet. How's that going? How's wet qualifying, and then now with the race being dry, how do you think things are going to go for you?
I prefer the dry. I have very little rain weather experience, but anyway, gotta go.
Good luck, buddy. All right.
Gotta go. Fires it up.
Jeremy Swenson rolling off 3rd. Looks like there's a couple cars missing from the GLTC grid, so we'll see how those fill in, and then I don't know, we'll see how this race goes.
Thanks, Matt. I gotta go. Jeremy Swenson pulls off, and we can get ready to roll that starting lineup here for GridLife Touring Cup race number 1, and we'll roll through it with you as we get ready for our pace lap. Row number 1, Tom O'Gorman in the number 94 S2000. Lewis Chatroop in the number, we'll start alongside him. Jeremy Swenson will start in row number 2 alongside Emil Tapp in the number 14 Mazda Miata. Behind them in row number 3, starting 5th, will be Scott Robertson in a 2001 Mazda Miata. Matt Waldbaum rolls off 6th in his 03 S2000 for ASM. In position number 7, Ryan Upham in the 1995 M3, and Jeff Preston in the number 47 rolls off in 8th. Row number 5 will be Austin Hurdle in the number 34, and Clayton Fitzpatrick in the number 170. Actually, that's going to be Joel Morrison in the 171, starting in 10th.
Starting 11th, Matan Rosenberg, the 18-year-old in the 1995 Mazda Miata, alongside Dustin Barty in number 24. Starting 13th, you'll find Orismas Carrozas in the 1997 BMW Eben 3, numbered 871, alongside Kerry James, the number 44. Starting 15th, it's Jake Jorenstad in the number 23 car. Starting in row number 8, alongside of him is Paul Darling in the 55. Lewis Chatroop rolls off 17th today, alongside Julio Crispin. And to finish out your top 20, Kyle, you've got Zach Lavoie out of Alabama and Patrick Reyes in the 2006 Honda S2000.
Starting in 21st place in row number 11 will be Micaiah Hackbarth, the number 447. Vitus Aronauskis will roll off in 22nd in the 144 car. Behind them in row number 12, Hans Horpedal and Eric Jensen will line up behind the 77 and 184. Jensen in an LS Swap FRS, not a great qualifying run for him. Wes Case starts in 25th, the number 767, alongside Justin Louds making his GLTC return in 26. Andy Sundin, new to GLTC, rolls off 27th. Richard Sawicki starts 28th in the number 528 car. Row 15, Joe Tulo in the number 43. Start 29th, and Ronnie Solomon will start in 30th in the 777. And that last row here will be Max Loop for the number 182 and Felipe Gonzalez in the number 12 car here as we get ready to go racing. Fiona Liu wraps up the rest of the grid here. Row 17 as we head up onto the back straightaway. That Mazda Unos Cosmo pace car pacing the field here, Andrew, and getting doubled up, racked up, and stacked up for our first race of the weekend.
Racked and stacked for the first time. Down that long back straightaway. You see now why turns 9 and 10 are so important, why you've got to be so patient back there before getting back onto the throttle as early as you can for that apex of 10, and just how hard it's going to be to get into turn 11. Obviously, that's one of your best braking zones, if not your best, or passing opportunity, rather, into turn 11 before you head down that secondary chute, if you will, towards the very back end of the course, turns 13, 14, and 15. But yeah, 11 and 12 right there are going to be very, very important. Your best potentially passing opportunity here at the Autobahn Country Club.
So how this works, 12 minutes is what we're going to count down from. We could go longer, we could go shorter. We'll keep you updated. The Mazda Unos Cosmo pace car, driven by our pace car driver Mike Cohn, will make the hard left onto pit lane this time through. We're going racing. 12 minutes on the board. 35 cars gridded up. ASM side by side, O'Gorman and Smedegard on pole for the first race of 4 this weekend. You're watching GridLife Touring Cup from Autobahn Country Club. Green flag flies, and we're racing at ABCC in GridLife Chicago. Towards turn 1, big dive on the brakes from Matt Waldbaum on the outside. ASM 3 abreast for a moment. Emil Tabb is middle 3 wide. Everybody scatters through turn number 1. So far, so good here, Andrew, as they head to turn 3.
3 abreast with just about the entire field. O'Gorman to an early lead. Swenson, though, not letting him get away. You see one car poking out from the 5th position, side by side, though, from 7th, 8th on back. A couple of cars off out of turn 3. Everybody, though, keeping it clean. Nice, clean start, although it is action-packed.
Yeah, Wes Case was one of the drivers off. Ronnie Solomon, that car got repaired. The car that we saw in the wall earlier in qualifying fixed up. They pulled it with one of their pickup trucks. They pulled the front bash bar out. They're ready to go racing. O'Gorman, Smedegaard, Jeremy Swenson, 1, 2, 3. Emil Tab is 4th on board now as we head down towards the backside of the racetrack. We've got everybody in a group looking good.
One car off, slow.
Yeah, one car did pull off to the left. Didn't get a good look at what that was. But for the lead, ASM versus ASM, Smedegaard and O'Gorman battle for the top spot.
Smedegaard putting some pressure on here. This is really cool to see. These two are, of course, the fastest in qualifying. They're the top 2 cars in the series, top 2 cars in the standings. They've got nearly identical points tallies and average finishes, and they are bringing the battle to each other. Your teammates on the backstretch of turn 11.
Yeah, O'Gorman told me this morning that his car was expletive phenomenal after they made some changes to the suspension and the differential. But Jeremy Swenson, reigning champion, is right behind them as they sweep through turn number 11 and 12 and into turn 13 to complete the first lap. They go by relatively quickly here at Autobahn Country Club.
Through the final few corners to wrap up lap number 1. O'Gorman, your race leader. Then it's Smedegaard, Swenson, and more. Emil Tab dropped back to that 5th position behind Robertson. It looks like a whole shift of changes. Well, Waldbaum, rather, in the 4th spot. A whole shift of changes as Swenson goes down to the inside of turn 1. Big move from the Corvette, and he will take that 2nd spot.
Snuck it through, but can he clear Smedegaard before the turn? Back left at turn 3. Yes, he does. He clears him. He's off track. Swenson off course in the dirt at the exit of 3. Slips and slides, and Smedegaard back to driver's left for turn 4. What a drive.
Good job hanging on to it, but his troubles are not over. Waldbaum now to the right side, checking out that right rear of that car, just see if there's any damage over there, and Swenson can get it right back in line. Staying in line now are 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, and they're just staying nice and polite. You've got to. This is still early in the race, only lap number 2.
Tomo loves this in the rearview mirror. He's driving away as these 3 are battling for 2nd place. Smedegaard almost lost it to Swenson, but he gathered it back up with Swenson off course. Waldbaum and Emil Tab, 2, 3, 4, 5 in that shot right there.
Preston and Upham battling for, no, Preston and Robertson rather battling further back as they head down to turn number 8. So the battle for 6th is getting on as well. You can see just how much of a lead O'Gorman has put on the rest of these guys, and the lead even from 5th to 6th. A big gap throughout the entire field already, as that chaotic start, Kyle, really lent itself to certain drivers, while others had really 4 positions.
Yeah, so again, the front 5 have essentially, the front 6, I could say, have started to stretch themselves out and get some room to race. Behind them into turn number 10, that's the gray Miata, and that is Robertson battling side by side. Here comes Swenson again to the inside of Smedegaard. Doesn't have the overlap to do it that time through, but he's certainly,
hurt for 1.
Yeah, it's going to be a great spot for that first corner. Here he comes.
Yeah. Waldbaum is really going to have an opportunity. Well, maybe not. Swenson put the power down. He's looking to the inside. He will get to the right rear. Gets that nose in there. Oh, nearly gets turned in on. Good awareness there from Smedegaard to not turn in on Swenson. Side by side through 2. We're going to keep that way through 3. Lockstep formation, and Swenson's still there.
This is great for Swenson now. He's going to carry the speed to turn 4. Can he stay on the outside, though, through the bumps? Big bumps on the braking zone. You can see the pavement transition, but Smedegaard loses that spot. Swenson up to 2nd. Now Waldbaum, friendly fire on his teammate here for 3rd place.
There's a reason that guy's a former champion, right, in car 30?
Yeah, I mean, Swenson's a real good driver. We've known that for a while, but he powers his way by Smedegaard and now sets his sights on O'Gorman, who's 2.6 seconds clear of the rest of the field. Now Waldbaum and Emil Tab fight for 4th behind Smedegaard. Here comes Tab.
Tab looking to the inside of turn 8.
Not quite close enough to get overlap on him there, though, but the timer ticking down. Now, Swenson has lost so much ground to O'Gorman that he might not have enough time to run him back down without a mistake from the 94 up front. But the 212 now 3rd, the 30 car now 2nd, the 94th, the 14 car in 5th. And then this is our best battle at the moment, the furthest forward in the field.
You see fastest lap times in your ticker now. Smedegaard and Swenson nearly identical for their fastest laps. That shows why they're getting locked in these side-by-side battles, despite one of them being a Chevrolet Corvette, Kyle, and the other being a Honda S2000. 2 very different cars, almost equally quick.
And the fastest lap is important because that's how we grid our second race. So O'Gorman right now is well clear. 32.8 that time through. Setting just flyers at the front. Swenson at 33.4. as he is beginning to put a little bit of a distance on Smedegaard in the 212.
Once he got properly clear and was able to put the power down and just get into his own zone, he's really lit that car up, and he is going quick, obviously, on 33 that last time by. So he's got something in that Corvette. He's just got to have the opportunity to really be able to put the times down and be able to put the fight to O'Gorman potentially later in the day. We'll see how that goes on. Emil Tab, 6 seconds back of your race leader. He's kind of lost touch to Waldbaum and the rest of these leaders, but I think he's pretty safe in 5th right now. As you see some battles further back, down to turn 4 we go.
Well, this is a great one. Austin Hurdle to the inside. I think that's Felipe Gonzalez that he's battling with right now. Real good battle here. It is Felipe Gonzalez. Matan Rosenberg right behind. S2000, 370Z, and Miata all going to town. Here comes Jensen and then LS Swamp FRS in the mix. Jukes to the right behind Rosenberg.
So Gonzalez on the move, maybe it looks like, or maybe not pinging the transponder because he's further back in this field. We see Hurdle ping the line last in 9th, Rosenberg in 10th, Jensen ping the line in the 11th spot. So a bit of an odd situation there for Gonzalez potentially.
Through turn number 8 and 9 and into turn 10, that group has begun to fizzle now. Austin Hurdle jumps up a couple spots. Rosenberg to the inside of Jensen. Arimas Karosis right behind in the white BMW. That's all for about 10th place at the moment. Maybe a little higher up. 9th place is where Hurdle is.
You know who that is, Kyle? That's Jake Jornstad.
It's Jornstad.
He is 33rd. So he is 2 laps down. He did not make the start, it looks like, or had to pit for some kind of issue. So problems there for Jake. But he's in the middle of this battle, right at the cusp of the top 10. You saw Austin Hurdle in that Nissan. He is in the 9th spot. Matan Rosenberg is in 10th. Jensen 12th. At least they were at the line. And it looks like Jensen and Rosenberg have swapped spots.
Dustin Barty, Kerry James were having a battle into turn 15 just behind Upham here. This is 7th place, but a little bit behind them, there's a black M3 that's battling for position right behind this little group here. Kerry James, right here. Dustin Barty, Kerry James, Micaiah Hackbarth, Zach Lavoie, and Vitus Aronowskis with a brand new wrap. Look at these guys side by side. The Cayman on the outside, Porsche versus Honda versus BMW. Man, this is great stuff.
I love this mix of cars. This is so weird to see. So cool to see, though. It really is, I think, a situation where you can bring literally any car and make it work. And you're seeing this now. The Cayman battling with a Honda Civic down to turn 5.
Yeah, this is the magic of that power-to-weight formula. These two cars would not be anywhere near each other in their stock forms. Lavoie now taking a look to the outside. That's 2 ASM cars there. Lavoie in the ASM 42, Hackbarth in the ASM 447. That is that green Cayman. And just behind, Vitus Aronowskis that I mentioned. And I think that's Paul Darling in that mix as well. He just bought this car.
Yep.
And that's only his 2nd GLTC weekend with us. So Paul is getting into the mix here as well.
You see the field working through 6, 7, 8, and 9. And that's what we're talking about there with, I think, the first big chicane onto that backstretch. You've got to maximize 9 and 10 to get these passes made by the end of turn 11. And we're seeing how these groups are forming as up front, nothing's really changing. O'Gorman still up front by 3 seconds. Smedegaard in the 3rd spot, then Waldbaum and Tab. Nothing's changing there. So you're watching the best battles on the racetrack here through turns 12 and 13.
Yeah, here comes Eric Jensen to the outside of the Myriad car and Matan Rosenberg behind. The 484 and the 184 battling nose to tail. The 184 is that black FRS. The 484 is the red Miata. They're duking and diving on the front straightaway. And then behind them, Micaiah Hackbarth still holding off Barty, Lavoie, and more. Across the start-finish line, 3 minutes to go this time through. We've got a little bit of time left, maybe 2 laps.
Car 447, Micaiah Hackbarth leading this group, as you've been talking about. I wonder if Lavoie can get 1 or 2 more spots, maybe put down a fastest lap.
Dustin Barty off track, turn 3, and Lavoie goes with him. Big slide.
Those spots up.
No, that's a big slide off track. Lavoie gathers it up. He will continue. But Barty went for a wild ride off track to driver's right.
And you boys will let these guys go by too.
Yeah, you see the yellow flag blinking over there at corner station number 3. And what that means is that there's a local caution for the 24 being off course. You can only hope that he did, I think he did keep it out of the wall, so he might be okay. So he has continued, and we should be able to finish up this race under green. That was a wild moment there, though. The grass is wet from this morning, and it's not going to slow you down.
No, it's not. And I was just thinking to myself, maybe Lavoie could get up, put down some lap times or something. We've seen him higher in this field lately, and I guess race 1's going to be a wash for him. Really, he's going to have to hope he can put a good race 2 together. O'Gorman, though, leading into turn 1, 2.5 minutes to go, so about 2 laps then.
Yeah, roughly, and O'Gorman, again, has a 3.5-second lead. He is not giving up any of that time. He hasn't really grown it that much either, though. So when Swenson starts near O'Gorman for race 2, the drag to turn 1, I'd put my money on the purple Corvette.
I think, yeah, Swenson would definitely have an advantage into the corner, but who leaves the corner with that lead is the big question. And I really think if Tomo and Swenson can battle properly without Smedegaard in the way, they would be just about even, just like Swenson and Smedegaard were, but it's a matter of getting into that battle without Smedegaard being there, and I don't think that's going to happen.
Look at this, Corrosis and Rosenberg side by side, the 484. Whoa, big moment there for Corrosis. Bobbled through turn 2, and he did have a great catch there, and Kerry James, watching out the windshield, got a face full of that big slide from the 871.
James puts his nose in the mirror of that car ahead. Corrosis says, nope, you're not doing anything. I'm going to continue on my way. And now you see Jensen now looking to make a move for turn 6.
And here comes Kerry James. This is BMW versus BMW. Corrosis runs a little wide. Up ahead, you see Jensen go the long way around to the Myriad car.
And that's still that lap car.
It is. I don't think he's actually lapped. I think it's a transponder issue. I think he's in position. So the transponder, I don't think is pinging, but he is. Oh, now it's fixed.
They did correct him. Yes, he is now in 10th spot. Yes.
So this is a battle for your 10th spot. Jorenstad for Myriad Motorsports. G-Speed, Eric Jensen. And right behind is the 484 of Matan Rosenberg. Great battles here for the top 10 spot.
Yeah, that really changes this whole dynamic. There's a bit of a slide there, a bobble for Jorenstad. Here comes Jensen with an opportunity. And the 18-year-old just waiting the balance now. 3-car battle down to turn 11.
Oh, this is going to be a dive on the brakes here for Jensen. A little bit later braking than Jorenstad. He's going to beat him to the corner. Can he jump the curb and stay there? He does. Jensen through to 10th. Jorenstad's off course.
Yep. 23-car paving, or not paving, mowing the grass rather. Paving the grass would be
that'd be better. They could use that as runoff.
You know, they would be, yes.
All right, through turn 14 and 15, 30 seconds left on the clock.
Car off.
That's Paul Darling, I think. But across the start-finish line, white flag is waving. We have 1 lap to go in Grid Life Touring Cup. Down into turn 1 now. Jensen on defense from young Matan Rosenberg, the 18-year-old phenom who's joined GLTC last season.
Oh, he's wide. And he's got a problem.
He does have a problem. Something broke. I saw a puff of smoke.
That left front looks like it's leaning over way too much. Problems then for Matan Rosenberg. We're back up front. Here is second place, Jeremy Swenson. 4 seconds behind our race leader. Smedegaard another second off of him. Waldbaum for plenty further back. 5 seconds and change. Tab another 4 seconds back of him. So things have really opened up. Although, you know what? Preston's getting closer to Tab here. I wonder how that's going to change for the starting order. Preston's definitely been quicker lately and has the faster lap between those two, so they will swap at the very least. Well, as O'Gorman's down to the last few corners.
Tom O'Gorman through turns 13, 14, and 15. It hasn't been that long since he won a race. It was back at Grid Life Midwest 2 weeks ago, where he picked up a win in race number 1. He will do it again here. Tom O'Gorman wins race 1 at Autobahn Country Club. Behind him, reigning champion Jeremy Swenson, second. Andy Smedegaard, P3. Then behind, it should be Matt Waldbaum, another ASM car. 3 ASM S2000s inside the top 5. Emil Tab will be in 5th. Look at this battle. More fights for position. Ronnie Solomon, this car was destroyed earlier. He's battling back here for position. And Wes Case, Zach Lavoie, and more. And actually, some great sportsmanship I saw. Zach Lavoie and Wes Case, we saw that big slide earlier. I think Zach Lavoie dropped back because there might have been a contact there, so he gave some spots back. But you can't obviously undo the situation, but you can do your best to mitigate it. Here's a battle. New driver, the 546.
Oh, lockup.
Woo! Tire lockup there for Andy Sundin, but he kept it out of the fender, and they're going to come back to the checkered flag this time through and finish things up. So the rest of your top 10, Tab, Preston, Upham, Hurdle, Robertson, and Eric Jensen up to 10th. Started back in the mid-20s. A great race for him as the rest of the field comes across the start-finish line. Good race there, Andrews.
Very good open to the weekend. Very good way to start things off for GLTC, especially after a wild qualifying session earlier where nobody really got into their grips aside from Tom O'Gorman. But you know what? He said the car was expletive great. It clearly is, and that means trouble for everybody in this field, and especially Smedegaard, who comes in leading the standings by 1 point. I don't think it's going to stay that way here after Autobahn.
Yeah, Matan Rosenberg, got a feel for him. He was having such a great race. I think he finished unofficially in 18th place. I don't know if he's officially gotten around to the start-finish line, but
yes, it looks like he has based on scoring.
Great, that's good news. But 18th is not where he should have been running in that race. That is a shame. Well, results for race number 1. Tom O'Gorman gets it done as he did in qualifying, just continuing to impress. But once he got out front, he just ran away from his teammate and Jeremy Swenson, who were battling amongst themselves for that second spot.
And you know what? Tom O'Gorman finished that race with a purple lap. He went to a 1:32.343.
There's your results. O'Gorman, Swenson, Smedegard, Waldbaum, and Tab, your top 5. Micaiah Hackbarth up to 13th. Jake Jornstad slipped to 14th in those late moments there. A couple other drivers we mentioned. Matan Rosenberg dropped down to 18th place. And a few others to mention. Wes Case, Zach Lavoie dropping down the order. And, of course, the 28 car of Dustin Barty, 24 car, rather, down to 32nd. And, again, I think that car pulled away and drove away, so I don't think he made contact with the wall. But a scary moment there that he managed to gather up.
Yeah, all indications are that everything's okay, although, you know what, there is a safety truck headed out, but that could just be to check on the course, and we don't really know. Hopefully we can find out here soon and make sure that the car is okay and that he's okay, more importantly.
We probably would have thrown a yellow if that had been
so.
a bigger impact, so I think he managed to get away. We stayed green the whole time. So that's good news. There's Andy Smedegard pulling off track now and going to roll up and hopefully find Matt DeRoos for a quick conversation. There's Matt Waldbaum rolling on by. Emil Tab rolling by as well. And Jeff Preston is coming on through and just waiting to see. There's one. Matt DeRoos going to pull him aside here.
All right, we're here with Eric Jensen. Eric is watching the timing and scoring. It looks like you moved up 12 positions there. What do you think changed for you between qualifying and the race?
Well, I'm awful in the wet, and so I had a terrible qual. I knew I had top 10 pace, so I just had to get out there and try to catch up with those guys, and I think I ran a pretty good race.
Nice. Very good. It was fun to watch, and hope you can do as well in race 2.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
Yep. All right. Rest of the cars are rolling in. Back to you, Kyle.
Thanks, Matt. And again, grabbing Eric Jensen. We gave him free rein on who to pull over, and I'm glad he talked to Eric Jensen because we saw him climb forward there, Andrew, from his mid-20 starting spot. He said he was terrible in the rain, and that I concur. He just had such a struggle in qualifying, but in the race, a great drive there, and it had a scrap with Jake Jornstad. An awesome fight to watch. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that we like to watch here in GLTC. Great stuff. There's Felipe Gonzalez, Fiona Liu, and you know what? We got all the cars through back to the checkered, and that's what I like to see.
Yeah, and on Jensen, he just barely nipped that top 10. That was pretty impressive to see, especially from starting so deep in the field. So we can really watch for him to get, I think, the race, the racing as a whole, for all 4 races, back on track for him and his effort. And just a good job there in race 1 from everybody, I think. And even Jornstad, especially once the scoring was fixed, we knew where he was, hanging on to a pretty good spot there in the 11th position, it looks like. So good efforts and good battles throughout the entire field.
GLTC Race 1 complete here from Autobahn Country Club. Time Attack Group A coming up next. We'll be back in a few. Coverage of Grid Life Chicago is brought to you by Momo, made in Italy since 1964. And by FCP Euro. Every part you buy is guaranteed for life. And by eBay Motors. Let's ride. And by Falcon Tires. The Falcon Azenas RT660 is the official tire of Club TR.
All right, we're here with Jackie Ding. Started the second time attack session. First time attack session was just kind of a big mess. It was open track. Everyone was trying to get their best lap in, staying out of trouble. Looks like you laid down a 1:30, which, I don't know. From here it looked quick, but what do you think you can do this session?
I think we're pretty happy to just go for it, you know? It's got all the power in the world, and transmission's bedded in. Feeling good. Temperature's pretty low. I think the GLTC guys prepped the track for us, you know? So thank them for that. Sweeped off all the dirty stuff. You know? So very excited to give it a go.
Cool. Good to hear. Typically, Autobahn is really hot. Do you have any issues with it being too hot with this car, reliability-wise?
I think with a water-to-air intercooler system, usually there is a little bit of limitation. AMS and the boys have really worked around that between meth injection and between the really large AMS intake manifold. We did a lot of work on keeping the car cool, so it'll be fine today. We'll be good.
All right, very good. Good luck.
Jackie Ding there sitting on pit lane getting prepped for the first real session of the day. I say real session, Andrew, because this is the first clean and dry track that we've had all morning. And I expect Jackie Ding to be in the 120s easily in this session. But Time Attack Group A coming up here shortly. Lots of really interesting cars in this group. Jackie Ding, I see the bright green S2000 of Alex Moss, another street modified competitor that we always expect to be at the pointy end of the field.
Yeah, we saw a preview of what to expect. I guess track attack, or time attack rather, light, if you will, in that second session, the first one that we covered today. But this is really where things are going to ramp up. The track is obviously dried off, worked in just a little bit from drifting and racing, and now these guys are actually going to have some grip out there, or at least more than they had. I don't know if they're going to have a ton, but they're going to have a much better track than they had earlier in the day, and we're going to see these guys really open things up and go quite quick. And you know what? I'm new to this, and I was talking with some drivers last night and just hearing about how much that first lap is going to be so important. I'm used to road tires that work in after a few laps, and I'm used to them being faster, maybe a few laps in once some fuel burns off too, but it sounds like these guys are really going for lap one.
Yeah, again, I think in most of the fast time attack cars, your first lap is your best one. You're not scored on an average lap time. You're scored on your best. So you're going to build your car. If you're way out there making an unlimited or track modified car, you're going to build your car to be fast for a lap, and that is going to probably be your first lap. You're not necessarily going to go make lap after lap after lap after lap because there's no point in doing that. You only care about your quickest one. So Jackie Ding, you're going to see maybe go out maybe 1 or 2 laps, a cool down, and maybe one more, but you're not going to just see people go out there and run the whole 20-minute session just to fill track time. It's going to be pretty hard going just for the 1 or 2 laps that they can get. So Jackie Ding is sitting there in the red GR Supra from PhD Racing. A lot of PhD Racing cars in this group. Alex Westergaard, far left to your shot there in the Honda S2000. He's getting prepped for street modified. And again, that car we've seen a whole bunch in the past, that kind of teal, pink, and black S2000. And it's pretty competitive in the street mod class. And historically, street modified has been the class that we kind of focus in on. That's sort of changed to Club TR in recent months just because that class has just been so strong with field counts. But it's just hard to ignore street modified. Such cool cars. You get Supras, you get S2000s, just all sorts of things, and lots of engine mods and downforce mods. Matt DeRoos is on pit lane.
The faces of GRIDLIFE over here? Yeah. Wow. Nice. Moving on up. Or, I'm sorry, for GRIDLIFE, one of the two. But
Hey, we're here with Alex Westergaard and his sweet S2000. You've been putting some hours in this in the garage lately. How's it working out for you?
It's been okay lately. It hasn't caught on fire yet, so that's a good thing. And I haven't blown anything up in the gearbox, so
yeah,
so far so good.
Yeah, I was watching that first session. I know it was kind of busy out there, but you were putting in some laps, and you're cooking down the front stretch. Is this making more power than it has in the past?
Yeah, we switched from supercharged to turbo. Right now, we're still working out the kinks, but it's making about 50 more horsepower than it did before. So,
very nice. Good luck this weekend, and have fun.
All right, so looking down at the Autobahn Country Club South course, see the North course at the top left of the screen. We're using just the South variant of this track. In the past, Andrew, we've done a weekend combination of North, South, and full course with both courses combined, but I kind of like focusing in on one racetrack and putting all your effort and energy into maximizing this particular course. I mean,
you're telling me nobody thought to put the Honda Fits Sunday Cup over on the kart track? I mean, come on.
That would be a lot of fun. I'm sure they would be the first ones to tell you it would be a lot of fun. There's the 226. That's Jerry Liu in a street mod Toyota Supra, and there's a handful of them here. You can see all the PhD Racing stickers. See on the GT3 RS, that is going to be Alex Lee, I believe, behind the wheel of this particular car. And again, Porsches and Supras seems to be the PhD thing. They either bring a stock Porsche or super modified Supra, or some combination.
Oh, we got one down
too, and got one down in the grass, enjoying the breeze or what's left of it.
But there's no what's left of it. It is. I mean, look at the flags there in the background. There is definitely a big cross when they're across the chute from, I guess it'd be turns 1 and 2 across turn 3 there. Definitely coming straight at us. We can feel it here. But you know what? It feels nice. It is hot. So that breeze coming through is definitely appreciated.
Cars on track, rolling off the pit lane. We can hear them in the background. They are accelerating up and beginning their warm-up laps here. Coming back to the stripe, that's when lap times start. That's when Jackie Ding is going to go for it. He missed GRIDLIFE Midwest because he was down out with COVID. So he is now ready to go. had his crew guy, Alex Lee, jump in the car at Midwest, but now he's prepped to get back in it himself. And quite the Skittles combination of cars here in this front pack. Red, purple, green, orange, and yellow. Pick your favorite. I'm a lemon,
or Starburst.
I'm a lemon guy myself. Starburst would be a good one.
Always pink Starburst, always.
Pink Starburst.
There is no other option. And you know what? You talk about Porsches and Supras being the thing for PhD. It clearly is working. They clearly have found what they are really good at and are using that to their advantage. These cars are very cool to watch go around here. And, you know, I keep talking about being brand new to this. You know, my first impressions immediately were those Supras going around the racetrack, just how cool they look and how fast they're going over at PhD. They're doing something right.
Certainly are, and accelerating now towards the backside of the racetrack. And the braking, again, this Supra that Jackie's got, it does pretty much everything well. It, of course, really likes those high downforce corners, the high speed areas. You can let that aero do the work for you. The challenge with downforce is that the slower you go, the less it works. So you have to go faster. You have to push beyond what would feel naturally right to make the car stick to the ground. And that's something uniquely something that is something with a high power, high downforce car. You know, a smaller car with a lot of downforce, you don't really get going fast enough to really get that unnatural stick. But some of these faster cars, you certainly do. You're kind of, feels like you're defying physics out there.
Yeah, it's kind of against what your brain might tell you to do. It's kind of, you know, against that theory. You've got to go fast in order to keep going faster. You've got to push the car to get everything you can out of it. And sure, you might want to be patient in some corners, but you definitely got to keep that mid-speed or mid-corner speed up. And clearly, it's been what he's been doing, exactly that. And he's going to do that here in session number 3 for Time Attack.
Here's Jackie Ding, the number 86 PhD Racing Supra through turn 1. A little wide on entry, but maybe prioritizing corner exit. And tucks it in a little tight here. Now back to the left at turn 3. You see the car kind of set and bounce on corner exit. Alex Moss right behind him. Moss again with the ASM crew.
Important corners there for 3, 4, and 5. Very important. So fast. And between 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, the line that you've got to get on to be fast is oh so tight. I was talking with drivers last night, really just about how wide that zone is. And as we said earlier, it's not very wide. Maybe a foot wide, Kyle. There's not much room if you want to get those corners exactly right.
Jackie Ding on the brakes into turn 8. And settles it very nicely. It's a really tidy lap so far for Jackie. It might not be pushing it. Okay, that was a little wide there. A little bit too much speed into turn 10. And now it will accelerate out towards 11 and 12. But this car carries so much speed on the straightaway. The inline 6, BMW and Toyota kind of collaborated. BMW design, Toyota approved. And they made some slight changes to make this car a little bit more resilient. And indeed, the engine is extremely strong in these cars just from factory.
Toyota approved and potentially Toyota improved. It's a very
good car. 100%. Now through turn 13, 14, and 15, this should be the fastest lap we've seen this weekend. Across the line for Jackie Ding, what are we going to see? A 126.898. That's a really solid lap.
And you know there's still more in that.
Oh, there's lots of time left in that. I mean, a 26.8 is the fastest lap we've seen, but far from ideal. I think it's still a little weird out there with the rubber and the dampness and the humidity and the air temperature as well. Cooler temperatures, engines run better. It's pretty toasty out here today.
It really is. Alan Ma, Alex Lee very close, only well, less than a tenth apart. About 4/100ths of a second or so apart. And even, sorry, I'm looking at Westergaard now. But still, they're all very close. The 133 second through 5th of this session. Turner there, the first in the 134s. And it's 6th place in car number 9. But everybody hitting the nail on the head pretty quickly, right? Those 33s we were talking about yesterday, right? A lot of drivers thought maybe they could get down to 31s. That might be a bit of a stretch for this session, but we might see that as well. But I think right on mark now. Now that the moisture's out of here, the rain is no more, and the track is heating up.
It is, and it's heating up in here too, I'll tell you that. There's Alex Moss again in the 150 car, sweeping through turn number 9 and 10 and accelerating onto the back straightaway. Again, this car has a sequential transmission, the paddle shifted dual clutch in this car, and that has been the subject of many a debate in Time Attack. But into turn number 11 now, he's really solid in this car, Alex Moss is, and again, this thing just rips. They call this the Super K. It's got its own Instagram account. Through turn number 13 and back onto the front straightaway. We'll see if Moss can pick up and go quick here. Across the line for the 150. See what it's
not top 10, but it was quick.
It should. I think he should. I'm not sure the transponder's working on that car just yet.
No, it's not. He pinged across the line for a time of 0.000. Now,
that's
I mean,
pretty
that
quick.
is quick. That is moving around here, but I don't think that's quite what he's looking for. Drew Turner in the top 10, Nicholas Gardner, Jerry Liu, Josh Halka, Zachary Moore completing your top 10 down towards a 135, 111 for Moore.
Alan Ma up to second at 132, 134. Then it's Alex Lee, Westergaard, Santos, Turner, Halka, Gardner, Liu, and Moore. Nicholas Gardner in the number 52, an unlimited class car. We didn't get a chance to talk to Nick until pretty late. He bought a ticket just a couple days ago to be here. But that number 52 will be quite the battle in time attack here this weekend. There is Jerry Liu again in the 226 Toyota Supra, heading down towards turn number 4. Dana Basinski, and again, this Corvette we were talking about earlier today.
Yeah, we had the Cutlass out there, and I called this gutless at one point, but it's clearly got some gut. It is moving around this racetrack right now. I thought it was in the 80s, definitely 90s Corvette. One of the specialty cars to see. I mean, it's just a little bit different. It doesn't quite look in its home out here with a bunch of Supras and Porsches and whatnot, but it's working.
And I just like the ability for drivers to just pick a chassis and build it to whatever rule set they want, right? I mean, if you wanted to build, whoa, big slide there. Couple cars, that was really dicey on corner exit, caught the grass and went for a slide, gathered it back up. But I like that you can pick a car and pick a rule set and basically build it, right? There's not a lot of cars that don't fit in a particular class if you can manage to slot it in. Club TR, for example, you can do engine swaps in Club TR. That's not a thing you can do in a lot of our time attack classes. So if you want to build some crazy, silly car that has a small engine, but put something else in it, go for it. I mean, it's just like GLTC. You can throw in whatever engine you want. Bike motor? Sure. V8? Go for it.
Well, that speaks volumes to what you and Greg talked about at Gingerman a couple of weeks ago, how this is so inclusive to everybody. And it goes beyond just, Grid Life is being inclusive to every person, also every car. Anybody can show up with any car and find something they can do with it, whether it's drifting, whether it's hot lapping the circuit, whether it's racing. Everybody's got a place. Everybody's got something to suit their fancy here at Grid Life. And I'll tell you what, I am really enjoying track battles so far. This is a lot of fun to watch them all spread out across the track, just trying to go as fast as they possibly can for a couple of laps. Maybe come in, reset, go back out as Rock goes to the third spot.
Yeah, Jimmy Rauch in the 991. That's a Porsche GT2 RS. That is probably the ultimate Porsche. This is a GT3 RS, or GT3, I believe. Alex Lee behind the wheel, the 329 car from PhD Racing. Alex was behind the wheel of Jackie Supra back at Midwest a couple of weeks ago, but in his own car this week, running for PhD. There is the Al's Auto Body car, the Audi S3. This car has been quite the story in the past in Street Modified, because of how loud it is, that Audi S3. It makes a heck of a noise. Cal is sharing that car this weekend. But Al's Auto Body prepping that car.
And they're just warming up. It looks like a 154 last time. I think just trying to get into their own here and find a good spot to run. That Porsche looks so good in turn one, leading over just that little bit, trying to find everything he can. Really well built car.
I mean, Porsches, again, if you've got the budget for a Porsche, there's not really, I don't think that there's a better car you could buy than a Porsche GT3 RS or a GT2 RS. Those are probably the two best all-around cars that I could think of. They're just really, really solid. And the balance, from an engineering perspective, the rear engine's weird, I think, but it works. I mean, Porsche has managed to break physics enough times that they've brought Porsches with rear engines through sports car racing for decades and won in everything, including GLTC and time attack. So it's, they've really built something special with a very unique engine layout. And
they've made so many cars over the years that are, they classify in so many different formulas, but they've always got that same Porsche to them. It's just Porsche. They always have something special to them, and they always require something different to drive, and they are different from any other car, certainly. As we've got more times filtering into the top 10, down to a 134.036 now for Turner, just hanging in that Drew Turner in the top 10. Jamie Santos down to 9th. Alex Westergaard holding steady, but Nicholas Gardner now getting up faster. Jimmy Rock, of course, as we see. And Dana Basinski is in the top 10. He was 5th a minute ago, but Gardner and Rock have moved him down.
Yeah, again, looking at the classes, you see at the top, it's 2 street mod cars, then it's 3 track mod cars. I think it's a super unlimited, or I think Gardner's supposed to be unlimited.
Street unlimited. At least what it says in Race Finder.
What does it say?
Street unlimited.
Oh, that's it. I don't even know that class exists. I think it's supposed to be unlimited or super unlimited. I don't think street unlimited is a class.
It's his own. It's the Nicholas Gardner class.
But Dana Basinski, the fact that he's keeping pace in with Gardner's GT 500 right ahead of him. Again, this is the K-Swap BRZ that Basinski's in. That's pretty impressive. Here again is that, I think this is the 54, Jamie Santos? No, 63, excuse me. That's Luca Barberis behind the wheel. I'm not sure, has this car gotten a livery redesign for those that know Luca well? I don't remember this car looking like this. Maybe it did, and I just wasn't paying attention.
Rock up into the 129s, just went second ahead of Moss.
Yeah.
You talk about Basinski being on pace with certain cars and faster than others. He's quicker than a bunch of Honda S2000s right behind him, and he's got the same drivetrain. So that speaks volumes to what you're going to like here, the BRZ. It's certainly something made for a track.
Well, again, I own one, so I'm biased. But the chassis balance of the FRS BRZ, GR86, GT8, all the different variants. Again, Honda stopped making the S2000 way back when, so you can't get one anymore. You can get an FRS, a BRZ, or a GR86, and for less money. And really the weak point of those cars was the engine, the stock engine, the 2.0 liter that came in the initial model was pretty weak, especially in the torque area. So people swap those things out all the time. Dana Basinski's one of them. There's a handful of K-Swap BRZs out here this weekend. And when you supplement that weak power plant with the phenomenal chassis balance, you have a really great car. Jimmy Rapp, though, he's certainly going after Jackie Ding here for the overall time in this session in his Track Mod 991 Porsche. Now, this means that Rauch will be leading in Track Modified after this session with the time of a 129.451. We'll see if he can go quicker, though.
Yeah, might not get up to Jackie Ding, but he's certainly going to lead in Track Mod if all things hold suit, and it looks like they will. That car is, he is attacking this race. The bumps there between 12 and 13, he's just taking it like a breeze, and around turn 15, I'll put on a lap down, we'll see how fast he can go. Car 991 puts in a 6th lap and will go to a 129.031. So now about a second ahead of Moss, 2 seconds and 2.5 seconds nearly ahead of Alan Moss. So Jimmy Rock has got something working for him. And Jackie Ding, by the way, turned that one lap, pulled it straight to the pit lane.
By the way, just got a conversation from Ben Thorne, who's another one of our Falcon Club TR competitors, typically with Valvoline. Ben just messaged me and said that Dana's lap time just smashed the Club TR record. And he said, and Ben himself said that a 133 flat is insane for that car. So Dana absolutely hauling right now and getting props from his competitors in the group chat at the moment. And a big thanks to Ben for alerting me to that. I got a lot of tabs open right now. I got to pull the records up a little bit later. But again, Dana Basinski, new track record holder for Falcon Club TR in that number 109, that orange K-Swap Subaru BRZ.
And that is special. That is really cool to see. And, I had the pleasure of speaking with Dana last night, pretty much at length, and just kind of getting I've not driven here myself, but to talk to somebody and ask a whole lot of questions, somebody who has been here extensively and clearly has got Autobahn figured out at this point, at least South Course, was very, very special. In the fact, clearly the information I got last night from him, at least, is somewhere on point. He was talking about just how, what's the word? Just how important turns 3, 4, and 5 are going to be. Clearly, he's got them down. They're the fastest corners in this track, and they really mean so much to putting your lap time together. But, of course, those chicanes on the backside as well, or chicane-feeling corners, 9, 10, 11, 12, those are important, too. And he's got something figured out.
Yeah, Jamie Santos just jumped up to 5th and 3rd of the street-modified cars in this group, a 132.523 for the number 54. Strong run there. Westergaard up to 9th. Josh Hulka at a 133.785 in his street class car, currently leading in street class. Really solid run. Luca Barberis trying to track him down. Again, that is going to be STI versus Evo, that age-old fight going to be happening in street class here this weekend. A couple other cars to keep our eyes on. Jerry Liu again in that 226 in street mod down in 14th. Anish Ramrakani jumps up to 12th in the 172. Late entry there, Ramrakani. But Group A will be coming to a close here shortly. And while we've got a bit of a moment to take you, to let you know what the rest of the day is going to look like here in terms of the schedule, up next is going to be Track Battle Group B, then Track Battle C before we take a break. And we will come back to you for our second stream of the day at 7 o'clock p.m. Central Time, 8 o'clock Eastern. So that's what's coming up. It's just Track Battle. We go dead for a little while. We'll be back up at 7 o'clock for more Track Battle and GLTC, 7 p.m. Central Time later tonight.
Foster Johnson on screen in his Honda S2000. A whole lot of them here, of course, but out of Des Moines, Iowa. And I think he might be on a cool-down lap. He doesn't look like he's hustling that thing too much, but he is... I saw him a minute ago on the standings, and I already lost his name. Gonna find him again, 19th quick at a 1:36.258 there in Club TR.
Yeah, so strong. I mean, pretty decent run. I love the hardtop that he's got on this car. Makes this S2000 look really, really solid. But again, Jackie Ding, as we get the checkered flag here for Time Attack Group A, Jackie Ding is your quickest man on the books so far this week at a 1:26.898. Jimmy Rauch second in the number 991 Porsche. In third place in the rest of the order here down the list. But Time Attack Group A is complete. There's your session results. Ding, Rauch, Moss, Ma, Santos, Lee, Gardner, Basinski, Westergaard, and Halka, the rest of the top 10. And Ishram Rakhani, late in the session, jumped up to 12th in Falcon Club TR. Steve Luca, one of our only Street GT entries that's made it on track so far this weekend, alongside Brad Moore. And again, Cal Fortner and Isles Auto Body down in 26th. Strong first session, though, at least strong first dry session, Andrew, because of how slow the earlier one was with all the damp weather.
Yeah, it's cool to see these guys properly open up these cars and stretch their legs a little bit, get those good times down. So good to see, of course, Jackie Ling getting into form, I think, and a few other cars, and learning the differences between classes is really interesting to me. It's a bit of a struggle sometimes, just wrapping my head around it all, but I think... Again, I love how you can bring literally any car to Grid Life and find something to do with it, and you can be any kind of motorsport fan, even an oval fan, and come on down here and have a great time at Grid Life, and there's still time to do so. If you're in the area, anywhere around Joliet, Illinois, within a few hours, I think definitely make an effort to head down here tomorrow. We've still got racing all weekend.
Yeah,
it is not done just today.
Still on sale.
Yep, there you go.
We got more content throughout the season as well. We've got a couple more streams. Next one will be Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course later in, I think it's going to be August, the first weekend in August, is we're going to have our next live stream. So that's what's going to be happening in the next couple of months. We've got, of course, Mid-Ohio. Then it'll be our trip to Lime Rock Park for our Circuit Legends Festival, followed by our next stream, which will be Alpine Horizon, Pikes Peak International Raceway, and Heartland Motorsport Park, our finals in October. So that's what's on the calendar this year. But for this weekend, still plenty of action. Group B, Time Attack here up next.
And it looks like Mike Staines planning on coming on down tomorrow, so that's pretty cool. We're seeing people even on the Twitch chat letting us know they're coming down tomorrow, so by all means, come say hi. Definitely, if you're anywhere within the area, come on down tomorrow. It's going to be a good time.
Group B on track now. This is the 623 on course at this point. This is, again, as we go down our entry list here for Track Battle, 623. I have a Stan Feingold in his 2013 Mitsubishi Evo in street class out of Hopkins, Minnesota. And warming up the tires, just behind him, Peter Granberg in Falcon Club TR. Peter again with another K-Series BRZ. A couple of Corvettes, S2000s, some Mustangs on track, a little bit of everything. A smattering of muscle and tuner alike. Kevin Vo in a BRZ. Might be an FRS, actually. It is an FRS with that front bumper.
How can you tell from that?
Because I own one. I know all the tricks of the trade. There's Cody Hunt in the Cutlass and Tony Barber in a Tesla. I think that's Tony in the Tesla Model 3. It is Tony for Turn-In Concepts and Not Fast out of Cincinnati, Ohio.
I see an RX-8 out there. I see the Miata again. It's very cool each and every time these guys take to the racetrack to just see the variety. Literally a grab bag of cars. Anything you could imagine probably is lapped with Grid Life at some point, or will here in the very near future. And it's just so cool. It's cool to see more than just a bunch of Miatas at some road course. It's cool to see a bunch more than just Honda S2000s. You've got everything. You've got an Oldsmobile Cutlass out here. You've got a Tesla on the track. This is really cool to see.
Well, another car I just saw go out of frame that I think we should bring attention to is one of our Unlimited class competitors this weekend, Andreas Bertulis, in the car number 171 out of Homer Glen, Illinois, running a 2015 Lexus RCF. And, you know, when you look across the kinds of cars that you bring to a racetrack, you see a lot of BMWs, see a lot of Hondas, see a lot of Mazdas. Don't see a ton of Lexus vehicles. And I've always wondered that because their marketing recently has kind of turned towards, track-focused GT cars. And they're not necessarily lightweight, but they make a lot of power, and they have pretty decent chassis balance as well. So we'll see how Andreas does, again, in a fairly small Unlimited class here this weekend, but that thundering Lexus is a cool car to watch.
And it's not like Lexus is all that far away from racing pedigree. Of course, they're owned by Toyota,
right?
So I mean, very close there. Toyota, of course, winning Le Mans the past how many years now, and very much integrated within NASCAR and everything else. And I mean, Lexus has their GTD program. It's not like Lexus doesn't race or isn't close to racing, so it's kind of odd, you're right, that we don't see more Lexuses in racing at this kind of level, but it's good to see one and hopefully see more, and I mean, that's just, I guess, part of it. We just got to get one, and then another will follow, and we'll see more and more. I like this Evo, though, that's on track. Feingold in car 6.3, Stan Feingold. I always like seeing Lancers, as we talked about earlier, but this is a proper all-wheel.
I like that.
Popular, yeah. So
probable and popular. Probable.
Sure. An all-wheel drive Lancer, an Evo. I like that.
Is it Lexi or Lexuses?
Ooh, Lexi, definitely.
Lexus, plural.
Well, I come from the desert, so if it's cacti, then it's Lexi.
Okay,
that's how I see it.
Lexi, multiple Lexi.
As long as we can agree that it's not mooses, it's meese.
I'll agree with that.
Okay.
We'll roll with that. Here comes Feingold out of turn 15, right out to the edge of the road and across the line to run his first lap of the session. And across the start-finish line, a 1:32.418 for Sean Feingold. That's a pretty good ripper in a street class car. Peter Granberg, the other cars we got to watch out for, Jim Smith-Oline, the 334 S2000. It's a black S2000. He'll be battling head-to-head with Fez Bobber and the yellow GR86. Those two have had a friendly rivalry all weekend long. As the rest of the field comes across the line, Bertulis at a 1:36.185. Jim Smith-Oline third at a 1:36.490. Peter Granberg, another Falcon Club TR car, 1:37.547. Mike Coons in fifth. Matt Koval, Kevin Vo, Tony Barber with that Lexus Model 3 in eighth at a 1:38.558. Now let's talk about Tesla for a second. Because, well, okay, maybe let's talk about a Cutlass for a second.
The opposite. Exactly opposite to a Tesla.
100% the most opposite vehicles. I think they're actually following each other. They are.
They are, yeah.
Those are the two opposite examples of technology here in Time Attack. And, again, the Tesla Model 3, what a,
pretty car.
Tesla has figured something out from their drivetrain perspective, right? I mean, these cars are really heavy. You can see Tony leaning the car over. But all the batteries low slung in the car, under the floor of the car, keeps the center of gravity low. So yeah, there's a ton of weight here. 5,000 plus pounds in some variants. I don't know the exact weight of this particular car. But they're still capable because they've got instant torque. They accelerate like nothing else. And he's actually going to catch Peter Granberg here in this K-Swap BRZ. Look at, I mean, this car is keeping up with it here. Again, this is a Tesla, a 4,000-pound Tesla. And look at, I mean, I know Peter's not on it right now, but man, the acceleration Barber gets out of that car is just unbelievable.
Well, as you said, it's instant power, instant torque, and it puts it down equally, well, maybe not equally across all four wheels, but it puts it down all-wheel drive. So it gets scooting up out of the corners, and it will fire down a straightaway. There's a reason they beat a lot of gas guzzlers in drag races. They are good cars, they are quick cars, and they fire off the line pretty quick. So out of each corner, you have power down to all four wheels, and a lot of power down to all four wheels immediately. There's no waiting on a torque curve.
No, and again, I think as he jumps up to third at a 1:34.964 in this street class. Look, I mean, he's 2 seconds behind.
I want to see a Tesla in GLTC.
Well, okay, so here's the challenge with that, is power to weight. Because it's a whole thing. It's a whole, I don't want to even get into it.
I want to see somebody do it.
It's so complicated to, like, because it messes up the rules balance, right? Because the Tesla's so good at that one particular thing, acceleration. And that's what everyone, in GLTC is trying to maximize.
Oh, no.
I think he's just pulled off by the corner station.
Yeah, I don't think he slid there. Nope. The wheels are straight, and it looks like he hasn't hit anything, but that's not where you want to be.
For what it's worth, if you're Team Old Tech versus Team New Tech.
Did he need a restroom break? Is that what it is?
Maybe. But the Tesla is still running. The Cutlass is off course, so make with that what you will. Oh, look, I love the Cutlass. And
I'm going to take a line from Penguin Scotty in YouTube chat. Excuses.
Yeah.
Excuses.
Lexcuses?
Yes, back to our Lexus conversation.
Oh, boy. Yeah, I mean, again, the old versus new, the Tesla versus Oldsmobile Cutlass, the two differences in the old versus new tech. I love watching Teslas because they just bring something new to the table, right? Yeah. They're brand new cars from, in the scale of the last 50 years. We've only had competitive EVs in maybe the last 10 really, and maybe realistically the last 5 in any kind of racing competition. The challenges that I face is like charging, because a lot of tracks don't have a significant charging infrastructure for 4, 5, 6, 7 cars. And that becomes a real challenge when you drain half your battery in 5 or 6 laps just trying to get the most out of your car. And we've seen this in the past. I remember last year at GridLife Midwest, Jackie Bing was running a Tesla Model 3 and was charging it at the tower at Gingerman Raceway and actually knocked out he tripped a breaker when we turned on a teapot in one of the staff trailers. So there's some infrastructure situations that we got to get sorted out, but I want to see more Teslas for sure. GLTC, it's a complicated thing. There's also batteries are real bad when they catch on fire, and in a wheel-to-wheel context, you know, certain tracks are prepped better than others, but that's a whole can of worms in itself.
Well, you know, there's always that April Fool's joke of Tesla going to NASCAR. Maybe if Tesla could get a racing program together, we could get portable superchargers that would get these cars charged up in a jiffy and would be able to easily take anywhere. That would be really cool. And even if we can just get that infrastructure more realistically, aside from maybe a racing program from Tesla, I don't know how easy that would be to do, but maybe if we can just get the more portable and easy to use and easy to implement superchargers, I think we could really go somewhere with that. You'd see more Teslas at the track. I know, for example, there is a whole record that Randy Popes has at Laguna Seca for specifically electric cars, and it went faster than GT3, I want to say.
I would bet that's the case.
Yeah.
Again, it all comes down to the implementation of it. As we just saw someone jump up to the top. Was that Kubayek that just went up to third, a 363?
Yep.
A 134.736, a really solid lap for him.
Knocks Barber down to fourth.
It does knock Barber down to fourth. Here is the 442. That's one of those BRZs, and a Porsche right behind it, the 442.
Joel Phillips.
Well, it is Joel Phillips. Yeah, right? Is that what it is? I think Joel Phillips is in an S2000, isn't he? Or am I wrong? I might be wrong.
Well, it's at least car 44, so based on car 44.
It's 442.
I'm saying, sorry, in that Porsche.
Ah, yes.
The 442 would be...
Yeah. Logan Geyer.
Logan Geyer, yeah.
Out of Reynoldsburg, Ohio.
Close enough to your name.
Yeah, almost. 2013 BRZ, and then you mentioned the 44 car, which is indeed Joel Phillips in
10th place.
Yes.
So about 6 minutes to go in this session.
Give or take. Here comes Phillips across the line. And a 137.653 sits at the bottom side of the top 10.
He was a couple of seconds off that lap. I don't know if he hit traffic or if that was maybe getting back up to temp after an off track or like an out lap. That's what I was trying to get at. But that was not quick. That was 2 seconds off his best time. Michael Barnes, on the other hand, though, in 11th in a straight GT, just turned his best lap time at a 137.764, going faster than Kevin Vo in Club TR. Philip Jew sits down in the 13th spot. And Ivan on front. We had this figured out earlier.
I pronounced this name so wrong.
Onofricic?
Yeah, let's roll with it.
Yeah,
we're going to get corrected either way.
Yeah.
But there's some names on the list that you just can't quite nail down, even though you try them over and over and over again. So I think that FRS just ahead of this car. Whoa, there's one car off track.
Miata.
Yeah. The orange one we've been tracking all weekend.
It's a beautiful color, too.
Really, it shines really well. Speaking of orange, that shines really well. Hot Lava FRS, I own one.
Yeah,
not this one.
I gotta be honest, the Mazda,
I know, the Mazda orange is better.
It's beautiful.
It really is. There's the 169 car, and this is a driver that I checked in the other day. I need to learn people's names. There's some new people around me this season.
See, I have an excuse. You don't.
I don't have an excuse. You're right. I mean, it's so many people. Who is that?
Car 769?
169. Dan Mai out of Greendale, Wisconsin, in a 1990 BMW 325i. So sorry about that. Name recognition, working on it. A street class car still at the top of the board. It's still Sean Feingold in the 2013 Evo. Andreas Bertulis in the Lexus RCF behind him. Kubayek in the 363 in third. Tony Barber in fourth in the Tesla Model 3. And Jim Smith-Aline running in fifth right now. No sign of Fez Bobber in this session. Not sure what's up with that. He was going to be battling the 334 of Jim Smith-Aline. But we have not seen him on track in this session, which is a bit strange.
It is, considering this is the best session of the day so far.
Yeah, and it is cloudy now, too, and over most of the track.
Getting a slight break from that heat.
It's going to help the track cool off and the grip level go up. I think that's what we want to see.
He's putting a lot of weight on really good weather tomorrow.
Yeah, it's going to be hot tomorrow, and I already heard him talk about yesterday when it was really hot that he was having trouble with his temperatures were climbing, Fez's, in the GR86. Has an oil cooler on the car to keep the temps down, but still hot and overheating. Not quite overheating, but hot. So I don't think that's a factor today, but we'll have to get a story update on that. Feingold, Bertulis, Kubayek, Barber, Smith-Aline, top 5. Muse in 6th, then Granberg, Vo, Koval, and Coons the rest of your top 10. And Looking down the rest of the order, a lot of our Falcon Club TR and Street Class competitors are in this group. And coming up shortly will be Falcon Sunday Cup, and we've been looking forward to this for a while, getting the fits all out together to hoon around a little bit. Should be a lot of fun.
We talked about Becky Burton with her Mazda earlier on. We've got a Mini Cooper that we'll take to the track here with Sunday Cup, a Honda Fit, many Honda Fits as we're used to. Even a variety in Sunday Cup, which we usually see a lot of Honda Fits, but we have that Mini Cooper out there. We have that Mazda 2 that we're looking forward to, and I'm excited to see how Sunday Cup handles things, and even a Chevrolet Cobalt that's been here before here in Sunday Cup. So as this session continues on, about 2.5 minutes left to go. Feingold still up on top. I believe he's pulled that car off. Bertulis in the second spot, Kubiak third, Barber, Smith-Aline in the fifth spot for this session. But of course, tracking times versus the whole weekend. It's not just this session as a matter, as far as who leads and who needs to pick up time. It's a matter of all of these sessions put together as checkers have been displayed on this session of Time Attack.
Yeah, we'll have results for you here shortly as the car goes out on track. The safety truck goes out on track. We'll have results for you for Group B here shortly. There is Stan Feingold in the 171. Andreas Bertulis behind him. Mike Kubiak, Tony Barber, your top four, Andrew.
Smith-Aline there in the fifth spot. Muse, Granberg, Vo, Koval, and Coons wrapping up your top 10. Joel Phillips, they're in the 44 car in that Porsche. We see Michael Barnes, Philip Jew, and some others in this top 10. I see Arthur Dvortson moving his way to the top 20. Cody Smith there as well, so that kind of completes your top end of the grid. And you can see one car did not make it on track. That was Darian Taggart. Joe Sabol, meanwhile, wraps up the very back end. And one of our cameramen there outside of, I believe that's turn 2, up on his lift there. I wish he would wave to us, but we've got cameras all around this place. This place is pretty well covered. I definitely hats off to the production crew and all the camera ops here today and for this weekend, putting in some hard work and making this place look great.
Putting in the hard work, and because of that, we're going to give them a break here. We've got a little bit of a break coming up, and Track Battle A will be back up again at 7 o'clock Central, which is about 2 hours and 5 minutes from now. Is that right? Yeah, 2 hours and 5 minutes from now will be our next Track Battle A. If you're watching on YouTube, the stream is going to go down. You'll have to click Saturday Stream 2 to catch us a little bit later today. If you're on Facebook or on Twitch, you can just hang out. We'll just have static shots for you for the next couple hours while we wait for our next competition round at 7 p.m. for Track Battle A. Kyle Heyer alongside Andrew Cardinale the fourth. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be back with you for Track Battle again at 7 o'clock p.m. Coverage of Grid Life Chicago is brought to you by Momo, made in Italy since 1964. FCP Euro, every part you buy is guaranteed for life. And by eBay Motors, let's ride. And by Falcon. The Falcon Azenas RT660 is the official tire of Club TR.
At 303, we're always chasing perfection. Protect your ride with graphene nanospray coating. Now, boost protection, shine, and slickness with Graphene Detailer. Level up your detailing game. Harness the power of graphene with 303.
Ooh. Call Logano. Hey, Joey, you can save money if you fill up at Shell if you use Advanced Auto Parts Speed Perks.
Dude, I'm way ahead of you.
You saved at the pump?
Yeah, I saved at the pump.
The pump?
The pump.
He saved at the pump!
Woo! Now you can save at the pump when you shop at Advance Auto Parts. Learn more at advanceautoparts.com/gas rewards.
Now, it's my turn.
The more power you have, the more grip you have, the more you push the limits, the more stopping power you need. Get race-proven technology. Hawk Performance.
Hey, we still on this weekend for a little...
You know it. I'm in desperate need of some...
What about you, Jim?
No, my sister's getting... the wedding. She's getting married, so...
When adventure calls, make sure you're ready to answer. Stable 360 ethanol treatment is specifically formulated for year-round use, so your engines will be ready when you are. Ready, willing, stable.
We've been powering the American road since before it was paved. Our first breakthrough in motor oil was introducing it. And we've been reinventing it ever since. From the world's first high-mileage oil to the world's first synthetic blend. There are those who change with the times, and those who drive them. Valvoline, the original motor oil.